Hello. Oh, gosh, it's taking so long. Like I stop in mid sentence because I start saying hi, and then it's still spinning. Like lately, it's taking so long. So I'm like, hello, starting to talk my first sentence, and by the time it pops on, I'm like mid sentence or at the end of my sentence. Anyway, so I got it done. Oh wow, I got an email to my Outlook email saying I was live. That was weird. I was like, oh, who's live? Me. Okay, that's me. Anyway, so I read the second or the second part. So there's a couple more interesting things in it. So I'm glad I read it. He clarify um clarifies the girls what he says happened to the girls. Not in too much detail, but yeah, he's a liar. He's a freaking liar. Hey Shay Lester, calm your tits. Sarah, yes, he's a pathological liar. I do. I think he's just a pathological liar. So it's like no, now it's not even any reason to lie. And I wonder if he was just doing that his whole life, or like, when he was with Shanann, but Shanann just didn't know, and he was just lying about things. I know a few people that like lie for no reason. And it's like, I mean, lying in general, but like sometimes like you think there should be a point to lying, but when people just lie for like no reason, like why are you even lying about that? It makes no sense. Now I know there's reasons. I mean, this is a big thing, but like I feel like he is one that just lies for no reason. I mean, how many different stories? Anyway, hi Kim. Oh, I'm so glad you No, I like Toaster Strudel, but I like Sarah better with the exclamation point. Toaster Strudel will be your name in private. Um, oh, hi, cutie. You're a cutie. Hey, Lurka Laura. Lavender. Cutie. So pretty. I have beautiful mess. Shelly Rock Girl Media. Shelly Rock. Wait. Shelly Rock Girl Media. Secret Forest Creatures. Okay. Brandy's Love Child. Oh, Brandy Love Child. Okay. Exactly, dude. Exactly. So, this I wanted to talk about that when we go over this. I'll tell you, because there was a theory that I think he's using, and it was one of the later theories. Well, there's so many different ones, but I think he's hearing all of them. People are telling him. So anyway, I'll get right into it and we'll talk. Well, let me say hi to a few more people. Hey, Twisted Torres. Hey, Mexican Smooth. Hey, Cool Gamer. How many of you have read it? Has anybody read it? The book? Has anybody read it? Let me know if you read it or not. Hey, Barbara, Dreamer. Laugh out loud like this. You're so cute. Is somebody paying him to say these things? Bunny Cha Cha? I don't know. All right, let's Mexican smoothie. Okay. I realize I'm not going to be able to say hi to everybody because they're get coming in quick. I was going to try because lately I've been able to say hi to everybody, but not. I don't think today. Quick coming in, people, quick. Oh my God, can I talk? No, not really. All right, so let's go over. I'm going to go over some more highlights. Like I said, I can't read the whole book, obviously, but I'll do some highlights, which we're allowed to do. I picked out the most important ones because I just want to hear about the crime. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear what he says about that. I don't really care about what he's doing. I mean, of course I do because I'm invested in the case, but to be able to like share it without copyright, I just want to share. That's what I'm going to choose to share is about the murder. Okay. All right. So you're just going to have to stare at my face when I read it again because I don't want to share. I'm not going to share the whole book. So when I'm reading the highlights, I'm just going to read it. Okay. I'll try to read it good so you guys could hear or understand. Okay. So this is part 2. So so far part 1, if you guys are new or you didn't see it part 1, he basically said that Shanann attacked him. He was going to choose Shanann over NK. He had his mind made up. He was going to choose her. But when she came home, she found out about the affair and she was mad. And so she, first of all, I think he's saying Cece is who she gave the sleeping pills to, because he keeps saying that Cece was sleeping, Bella was up. So I'm guessing it's Cece. He said that she gave her extra sleeping medicine because she kept crying. So she gave her, like, you know, implying like she probably gave her too much sleeping medicine because she was crying, right? Then he said that she came out with him with a knife. Okay. So she attacked him with a knife. So basically in self-defense, he like grabbed her and he choked her because she was coming out with him with a knife, right? So this is part one. I'm just summarizing it before I start part two. Then he says, right after it happened, he calls NK and tells her, because he doesn't know what to do. He calls her and she tells him to bring them to Servy to work. Okay. So that's about where it left off. I mean, I think that's all that's in part one. Yeah, he just insinuates that she came at him. He doesn't want to come clean. He doesn't want to say anything because he doesn't want to hurt her family. And then Dylan says, well, which one's the most accurate confession? He says the first one, which would be when he was still in the interrogation room, where that confession was like more, he placed more of the blame on Shanann, saying Shanann, remember, was over top of, was it Cece or Bella? Bella, like, he implies like she was like killing her or suffocate and strangle. He said he couldn't tell, but she was over him, and then he grabbed her, and then it was like almost in like a protecting his kids. Well, this time he said that's more accurate. He just says confession one's accurate. He doesn't go into those details, but it's the whole thing about blaming Shanann, being Shanann's fault. You know what I'm like? She came at him or she started it. So I don't know. A knife, that's the first we ever heard about a freaking knife. Okay. So now let's go. Now we're going to part two, right? So here's part two. I'm going to read, we're going to start with, all right, here we go. Okay. So part two. So I was leafing through the Black Laws Dictionary again when I saw a change of venue. I had read it to him, but I realized this could probably be the ticket to get him to appeal. So Dylan's trying to get Chris to want to appeal his case. Okay. He says his reasoning is that he doesn't want to go back to Colorado. Yep, I called that. He's afraid because he knows if he appeals, he's going to go back there, and he's afraid because people are threatening to kill him there, right? A change of venue would get his new trial heard somewhere else. I called over to Chris and explained this to him again. This is what led to us discussing his case again. The cell I was in was hot as hell, and it was humid. I didn't even have a fan like Chris did. He was staffed at Dodge, whereas I was only being housed there, so I was prohibited from purchasing products, such as electronics. I couldn't order anything, not clothing, shoes, or anything. So he's saying because he was just kind of being housed there, and Chris was like a regular, being staffed there. So that, I don't really understand. That kind of sucks. But anyway, okay. So Dylan asks him, if you were given a chance to get a retrial somewhere else, would you appeal your conviction? And Chris paused and he said, I am going to appeal. He promised. Me walking out of these gates would be a testimony from God, and then my mom would believe, he replied. I will walk out of these gates one day, he added. Do you think if you get out that you will contact Nicole or Jezebel? So Dylan's asking, will you contact her when you get out? And he says, not a chance. He rapidly fired back. So he answered really quickly, not a chance. Didn't have to think about that at all. Okay. And then what if she says that she never stopped loving you and that she was just scared, which is why she disappeared? And Dylan saying, so I pushed because he wanted to get more of an answer out of Chris, right? Chris quotes, she's Proverbs 7:26-27. Look up what that means, and that is my answer to that one. So that's Chris's answer. So it'll go on to say what that is in a minute. So Chris answered, I next looked it up in the Bible, and that is as far as we got on the subject of her that night. So here he's going to read it. This is what it said. Okay, this is his answer in Scripture. For she has cast down many wounded, and all who were slain by her were strong men. Her house is the way to hell, descending to the chambers of death. I read it twice and I knew what he was trying to tell me something. Wait a minute. This was his second time defining her by these proverbs. He was indeed telling me something. Okay. Oh, okay. So where are we at? So what do you mean that this detective wants to help Chris? So now he's talking to that Krista. Remember, Krista's the one that reached out to Chris. She ended up being on Armchair Detective. And then that's how like the connection got made. So I remember when she was like gonna be like, he was gonna have her on as a guest, and then he was gonna have this guy on. But anyway, so Dylan asks this Krista girl that he's been talking to, what do you mean that this detective wants to help Chris? I asked Krista through the phone. There was a pause. Are you going to answer me? I asked her. This call's almost over, I said. So this is her answer. He is a retired detective, but he has contacts who can help, she explained. And then Dylan says, well, if he's retired, then what does he do now? And she says, he actually has his own YouTube show. It's called Armchair Detective. I'm sure everybody has followed the Watts case from the beginning. The first couple of years knows who that is. I think he's probably still covering. I think that's like his main case. I don't know if he still does it. I don't even know if he's still around. But he was a big Chris Watts YouTuber. Not a detective. I mean, he isn't like a detective in that sense. I mean, he just is online and named himself that. I wouldn't say he's like a detective by trade, but anyway, she admitted. So she admitted he's just a YouTube person, or not just, but like, and he says, I knew it. I can tell you Chris's answer without even asking him. I answered her question. And then she said, just let him know that he's my friend and just wants to talk to him, she insisted. Okay. So remember this, I'm just skipping around to highlights. So if it looks like it's jumping around. Okay. So they started talking, and it seems like you could tell Dylan wants to know how to bring this whole armchair detective thing up. So now I'm going to read the part where he brings it up. He says, what about Krista? Because they're talking about a women. Okay. I'm not going to read it all, but they're talking about like women and how Dylan goes on to say, like, I have all these psycho women, and like all these women that I end up hooking up with are like psycho. So Chris asks, never mind. Chris asks Dylan, what about Krista? Like, isn't she cool, you know? And he says, speaking of her, she claims that some retired detective wants to talk to you. And I'm sorry, I'm sure detective is not a retired detective. He was never a detective. He was just, remember he was on that show. He was like, try to open a restaurant, and he was never a detective though. But like, then he had a YouTube channel. So I don't know if she knows that, or I don't know why they're lying and saying he's a retired detective, because he's not a retired detective. Anyway, it's not like he did it for a living. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, Vern. You're funny. Yeah. Well, that's why if he goes back to Colorado, it's over. Or I don't know. I mean, but yeah, that's why he's afraid to go to Colorado. Hey, destination, Lonnie. Okay. Oh, interrogation. What up? What up? All right. So I'm gonna get back to it, and then I'll get in chat. Okay, so she says, she claims that some retired detective wants to talk to you. And Chris says, who? He asked rather quickly. So Chris is like, who? Like, real quick. I had to rack my brain for a bit to remember his name. And he says, oh, Armchair Detective. I remember. And Chris says, absolutely not. He calls my family and I enough problems already. So like Armchair Detective and the Watts family, like they hated each other for a while. And then, yeah. So he already knew about him. Okay. So, and then Dylan says, well, how about you let me talk to the guy and see what he wants? He has that YouTube channel. Perhaps we can spread the word of the Lord and possibly market our books, I suggested. Chris was quiet for a minute, perhaps pondering this idea. And then he says, Joseph, son of Jacob, used Pharaoh to help his people. Perhaps we can open the door for the enemy and use their lairs for good, Chris proposed. So he's saying, like, maybe we could use him to get our word out for good, you know? Okay. So, and then skipping down through, Dylan asks, how are you so humble with having life in prison? So, like, I mean, you're going to let, you know, your rest of your life's in prison. How are you so humble? He sighed a little and said, because God has me right where he wants me. Perhaps I can help the people in here. And then Dylan goes on to say, like, yeah, but if you get an appeal and go out, you can help a lot of people out there. You help your family. You know, if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your family. So he keeps saying, like, okay, I'm going to fight it. My family's still looking for an attorney. They cost so much. He's saying, like, one and costs like 100,000. And then Dylan, like, brings up, well, maybe our books will gross enough money and then we can lock in with a good lawyer. So, like, you know, if we write this book, because they're supposed to co-write a book, maybe we could sell enough and have enough money and hire your lawyer. And he says, Chris says, that money is all you. I just want people to believe in Jesus Christ. I'll just put your cut toward. So Dylan says, I'll just put your cut toward whatever you tell me. However, we don't have this thing fully finished yet. I sighed. I guess Dylan had written a book before. Is that too loud? I'm going to turn this off for a minute. It's starting to make a little noise. He says that, so I guess Dylan had been an author of another book before that. And he says that he would help him get published because he already has a book published, I guess. Okay. And the book is called, it was supposed to be a book series called God's Plan. Obviously it never happened because he sent that, like, I guess some of the copy to Krista, and then she went on that Cellmate, I think it was called Cellmates, or like, was it a Lifetime or a show? She went on a show and basically, like, what, like, wasn't trusted with the work, I guess. I don't know what she did with the book, but basically betrayed Dylan because she went on the show and, like, she had the book and he trusted her with it. So I'm not sure if she, like, released it. I'm not sure what happened. Something happened. And then it says, I think, well, hold on. Skip here. And then he says to him, like I said, it's not in order, just a couple pages after, he says, bro, you are too good of a guy. I know you couldn't do anything the media is saying. I don't think you killed your girls too. NK should repent for the grief she brought upon you and your family. And he quotes the scripture, but then he says, I can't argue with the word. Look, I can't remember a lot. I didn't intend to kill my wife. It wasn't my goal, as everyone thinks. Yeah, we fought over money and small things, but we loved each other. I used to be a pushover with no backbone. I never meant to kill my wife. She attacked me. He paused. I asked, what do you think made her attack you? And Chris says, she found out about the mistress and she tracked my spending. I don't know if she was more mad about the money or the affair. However, she was upset. She was going to kill me. So now he's claiming, oh, like he was feared for his life. Come on. I mean, my older daughter woke up and was asking about her mom. I told her to go get her sister and that mommy was in a deep sleep. We needed to get her some help. Oh, thank you, Zawoki. Thank you, Zawoki. Okay, cool. Thank you for gifting it. Yay! So I'd like to hear what you think about it. Thank you for gifting. Interrogation files. Did I say hi to you this time or last time? Hi. Okay, so where are we at? Where are we at? I can't argue with the word. Oh yeah, so he's talking about the shenanigans in a deep sleep. We need to get her some help. Like I was telling you last time, bro. I was numb. I was on autopilot. I just lost the love of my life, my wife. I was in love with Nicole at the same time, he explained. I knew about being in love with two women at the same time. You could only choose one of them. I forgot to highlight this part. Hold on. So he says, so Dylan basically asked, like, why didn't you call the police? And he's like, um, and like, you called your mistress, so why didn't you just call the police? And he basically said, I didn't know what to do. I've never been in trouble, And then Dylan said, somebody had to have helped you because you wouldn't have known what to do until your own. Wait. Somebody had to have helped you because you wouldn't have known what to do until your own family, I told him. Look, so Chris is saying, look, it's hard to explain. I went to work at the normal time. The neighbor's camera saw this. I confessed already. So what is this going to do? He pointed out. And Dylan says, you're like a brother to me. I'm not going to judge you. I just think you're full of it when you ducked my question the way you did. I dug. He said, so Chris says, you remember what I told you about Jezebel being the evil one, ordering the king to kill? He asked. And Dylan says, I do. And so like Dylan's thinking, wait, is he trying to tell me something like his mistress told him to kill his wife? You know what I'm saying? Is that what he's trying to say? And so he said he's just like thinking about it. Dylan's like sitting there thinking for a while and then waiting for Chris to continue. And Chris says, I remember this song playing. It was called Devil by Shinedown. The lyrics say that the devil is in the next room and right beside you. I heard it in a couple of Facebook videos my wife recorded, he said. That's creepy, Dylan said. And then Chris says, I know she was of evil spirits, and that song was a warning, an omen. Now, here's the thing. He's talking about being in his wife's video. So who is he saying was evil spirits? NK, right? But sometimes it's like, it's kind of like tricky because like he'll be saying something and you don't know. It could be like taken either way, unless if maybe the writing's not very clear. But I guess they're still talking about the mistress because he asked, because the question was, what was the question? Like that he dodged the question or whatever about the mistress. So he probably is still talking about her. But so basically he's saying like Shanann's videos, it was playing in the background. They were trying to warn me about NK. Oh, wait, never mind. he asks, oh my God, I'm silly. So he asks, he said, who? Your wife or your mistress? Chris says the mistress. So yeah, that question answered. It's the mistress. Okay, so he basically quotes this scripture where it's basically saying, Jezebel convinced the king to worship her God. She ordered him to kill. She was feeding the king manipulative words, everything he wanted to hear to get him to do her will. He explained in scripture, speak clearly to me, brother. This is not an interview, I told him. So he's like, Chris is like quoting scripture and like Dylan obviously knows what he's trying to say, but he's not sure. He's like, I want to hear you say exactly what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's hear you say, did she do it? What did she do? Anyway, he says, my older daughter was trying to wake up her sister. She was sleeping deeply from medicine her mom gave her. So yeah, Cece was sleeping deeply. She was having trouble staying asleep the night before. I decided I would leave my wife's body at home. So now he's saying that he leaves Shanann at home. And then it says, Chris had a slight sob catch in his throat. I heard his voice start to crack. It's okay, bro. I know it's hard to talk about, I said in a comforting tone. Where we at? I left her in a sheet and I was going to check in with Nicole because we had plans to meet up before work. I was going to skip work and spend the day with her until all of this. So this is another thing. He's saying we had plans to meet up before work. So was she going to skip work too? Or were you just going to meet up before work? Or were you guys going to like both play hooky, like just go skip work? I guess they were going to meet up and both skip maybe. I don't know. But so basically saying it's not premeditated, it happened because Shanann attacked him with a knife. He was going to, wait a minute, caught you in a lie right there. Right there. Part one, he says he's going to pick Shanann. He said he was going to pick Shanann that night until she came home and found out. Because he made it seem, because they specified, like, when were you? Yeah, before that happened. And then she came home and was aware of the affair and started, yelling at me. I mean, I took it like he meant that night he was going to tell her if she didn't argue at him. But now, I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood it. But now he's saying, like, he had plans with NK this whole time that next day. Okay. I left with my girls and I assured my older daughter that her mom was fine. So he's saying he left Shanann there at the house, leaves with his daughters. Okay. I lied to her. So he's saying he's lied to Bella. He said, her mom was going to be fine. And he knew she wasn't. My younger daughter was sleeping. I had my girls with me and their mother was home dead. I thought of Nicole and I thought perhaps we could start over somewhere in North Carolina still, he admitted. And Dylan says, y'all were going to move to North Carolina? And he says, I was pondering on it, but losing my wife, it made me feel doomed, alone, especially the thought of losing my mistress too. So I met up with her where we were supposed to rendezvous on my way to work, he explained. A CO was doing their round, which is why we stopped the conversation. He was saying that was part of the. Oh, sorry, hold on. Sorry. 1 second. Let me take a sip of this. Okay, so he was saying. Okay, so they interrupt like the best parts of the conversation. He was saying that she was part of this, and I had this feeling that she was involved. A CO was doing their round, which is why we stopped the conversation. He was saying that she was part of this, and I had a feeling that she was involved. Go ahead, bro, continue, I insisted. Nicole was calm about the whole situation. She told me to just go to work like I was supposed to, and she asked me about the girls, he explained. So, like, NK's aware of this. Oh, what am I going to do? Oh, just go to work like you're supposed to. She asked about the girls, he explained. She asked you about the girls, I asked him. We talked it over for a while, and we decided that we could make it look like they went missing. Things blew up in the media. The pressure unfolded fast, Chris explained. What about your wife's body? I questioned. She said she would take care of it, he sighed. I really didn't want any of this. One sin caused another one, and one after that, and so forth, he added. Okay. I have to know, and I will not judge. Did you kill the girls? Yes or no? I asked hesitantly. He went silent. The silence was thick in the air, and it was deafening silence. I should have cast myself in that grave that was dug for them, Chris said. For them? I should have cast myself in that grave that was dug for them, Chris said. Because remember, there was only one grave dug. I mean, I don't know if he's literally speaking, but Shanann was the only one buried. I decided to ask him the same question, but from a different angle. Did you have help with the girls? I probed. He took a long, deep breath and seemed to hold it. Yes, I did, he admitted to me. Jezebel, I asked. Yes, Chris answered. I knew it. So now he's saying NK helped kill the girls, or with the girls. I mean, I guess she could have just helped put him in the tanks, or I mean, I'm taking she probably helped kill them. I mean, that's what he's saying. So then he supposedly, I guess now Dylan, so I don't know when he actually wrote this, because when he's writing this, he says he's on his way back to Dodge. He's going back because he broke his probation. So he said that he is going to be there with Chris, and that Chris is in Dodge, obviously, still. And he says Chris is dating a new woman, works, and is in his single cell. Oh, he works. So Chris is dating a new girl. Chris works, and he is in a single cell at the institution. I will run into him soon and perhaps sign his book for him. So I don't know if they're still in contact, and maybe he told Chris he wrote a book, and Chris has the book and read it and was like, hey, will you sign it for me? I don't know, but he's back. Like, so he's probably gonna have more information now, because now he's back in Dodge talking to him. But supposedly there's part 3 anyway. So I think there's another one that should be coming out, because it's supposed to be 3 parts. So I don't know. Yeah. Oh, hey, Brittany, how are you? Wait, did you change your name? You added some stuff to your name, huh? Allegedly, in my opinion, it was added a little, in my opinion, huh? Right? Or am I just like, yeah, of course, right? You see the girl's Amazon advertisement around Father's Day that showed a picture of blankets, while Amazon used pictures of Watts and his family on Father's Day as an amazing. What? No, that's crazy. Hey, KH Logic. Wow, that's. Wait. That don't seem like that should be. Oh, I want to play this Law and Crime video too about it, but I want to chat with you guys a little bit, and then we'll watch that. So what do you guys think? Complete fabrication or any truth to this? Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up with chat a little bit, see what's going on. Dragon, hey, She Builder. Restive life hacks. So I don't know what to make out of it. He's just a freaking liar, but like now, like he's actually saying things that people have been wanting to be true, I would say. So why am I not able to go through all of chat? That's so weird. My chat is like, hold on one second. It's like really behind. It's not letting me scroll up. But what do you guys? I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, here's the thing. So from what's his name's ring? If NK came back to pick up Cheyenne, it wouldn't have been through the front, because I'm sure they would have. Yeah, because they looked through all that, so it wouldn't have been the front door. But there was theories people had said, and because they seen like, so in the back of the yard. Here, let me bring my streamer. Let me come over here so I don't have to look over here. Oh, there we go. Much better. In the back of the yard, there was this fence. Actually, one of my friends went to the house, but other people showed it too. She actually had sent me pictures. I wonder if I still have them. I haven't talked to her in, oh my God, years. Janice, I don't know. I haven't talked to her in years. But she had went to Colorado and looked at the Watts house and took pictures. And on the back, because she had said, dude, it looks like the back had like the fence. It was like, what was it, broken or something, where she says, oh my God, it looks like if somebody like tried to carry a body over the fence, And I forget what it was about that. There's some kind of like chip or broke or something where she thought that. And then I feel like other people were talking about that theory that there was some, wasn't there like some kind of tire track in the back because it was before all those condos got built and it was just like they were building them and it was like land and a parking lot. So somebody could pull their car up right in the back. You could pull right up at the back of the Watts house at that time. And then, and remember the door, what was it? The wood in the door? Something about the wood in the door. I really got to refresh, you guys. It's been like years since I looked into all the details. But there was something about the back door in the wood where it made us think that somebody had like left or something with the back door. Do you guys remember that? It's making me want to go over all the details of the case again. It shouldn't take me long because I just need to refresh. It's like in my memory, but I just have to like just get it all in there and it'll all just come back. I know. I sound silly, but like, okay, so I should just look right now, but maybe I'll do another video after and I'll get all that information. So my point is it could be possible that NK went back and got Shenanigans and took her out the back. Not that, I mean, she wouldn't have been able to take out the front, but out the back. It's possible. But if that's the case, would she have been able to do that by herself? Take Shenanigans out? Like, I mean, a body is heavy, dead weight. Like, so did she have help or is this just all a freaking lie? You know, because Chris is hearing all these theories and he's, well, let me go with this one this time. Like, this guy wants to let me give him something to like, you know, I don't know if he had figured he would write it. Obviously, if he's probably going to, it sounds like he probably has the book the way Dylan made it seem like, oh, I'll sign his book. He must know that he has the book, right? Or something. I know, but that's the thing. Like now that he's finally saying something that people have thought, now we believe him. You know, he's still a liar, so it's like that would kind of make us look silly. Like, oh, we're not going to believe him because we don't believe that. We're not going to, but now we'll believe him because that's what we thought. You know what I'm saying? Or is it more that he's just going along with what most people are saying? Now, I'm not saying we as in me because I think I have a little bit different opinion than the majority of, well, maybe not the majority. There's still people that think me what I think too, but like I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, like everybody has like a little you know, like, but I'm talking about like the fact of NK being there. I never thought she was there. Now if things point to it, you know, being true, I could it's not set in stone, but I just never was able to fully have enough evidence to think that because I know like the ping, but the ping I feel like could still be explained. But now, like with all this being said, well, I'm gonna have to relook at everything. But it's just how do we believe him? You know, now that's what 3 different confessions that are just. He said but Dylan made it seem like there was already 3, so this would be the 4th confession. I look at this as the 3rd. No, never mind. It is the 4th because Sherilyn Cato's book. Yeah, never mind. This would be the 4th. Yeah. Yeah. So we have Sherilyn's book, which was like, he's talking about killing the kids twice. Remember? Like he had to twice because oh my God, they woke up. Oh. Yeah, I don't know, guys. But yeah, I definitely want to go back and look through some things now. Yeah, Jim. I mean, I mean, I know that's what most people are going to say. Jim could have helped her. And I mean, it is weird. Like the one day after who's visiting her, Jim's visiting her. It is kind of suspicious. It makes you definitely wonder. So I don't know. I'm definitely open to look into it again because I wanted to look over it again now too. But now this is like, oh yeah, with the Millers. Yeah. The freaking Millers, like you guys were talking. I don't have my earphones, just feeling my earphones. Oh wow, interrogation files. Thank you. Did you just give 10? Wait, I missed some. Okay, Zawowski, thank you. Restive life hacks, thank you. Interrogations, thank you. Wow, guys, thank you. That's so sweet. Got a lot of people members. Now you gotta get some member stuff out. Um, yeah, so yeah, the Miller, like, he had like what the CA charge, the abuse, what his wife. Yeah, it's crazy. I still wish I could see like I heard some people were saying like she said like, "Oh no, he would never that would never happen to us," or something, I guess they said, and then they move into the house and that happens. Like it just probably has some bad energy in there. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know necessarily if I would say haunted, it's more just like bad energy. I guess it's how you look at it. You could look at it as being haunted or look at it as just like this just bad energy from the lingering energy that was in there, from everything. Um Well, here's the thing, like, he's gonna have to for this to be like anything, he's going to have to bring some kind of proof in his word because he's not credible at all. So him just saying that is not gonna accomplish anything, like, legally, though. But if he has some kinda something, any kind of, like, proof, which I'm sure he doesn't, I don't know, like, something. But, okay, so if he called her after, why aren't we seeing the phone stuff? You know what I'm saying? Did they use burner phones or because we don't see the call at that time? We see a ping, but she doesn't call him. So where's that at? Did they have different phones? Because I mean, you see what I'm saying? Oh, really, Lisa? Okay. But Brittany, how do you think is it she got into like how did he call her without there being like a trace of it? Because he said he called her after it happened, but there's no on the record. There's no there. He didn't at that time. He didn't call her. So where is that at? Did he use a different phone? So I mean, there's just things that there. It's not going to be taken seriously because it doesn't match. So if he indeed called her and he used a burner phone, like if he could produce that and tell him like, okay, this is the phone I used. This was the phone number. This is what I did with it. You know, he if anything, he may have threw it in that dumpster with his clothes, maybe, but maybe he give the phone number or some kind of proof. But otherwise, I mean, NK is probably never going to go down if she's involved because it's just his word. He's a freaking liar. They're not going to believe him. Well, I know, but what I'm saying is in this book, if he's telling the truth, that's the whole point, Lindsay. We're trying to say, is he a liar or not? And one of the things is he says that he called her after it happened. Well, that's a lie because their phones don't show that. But that's what I'm trying to work out. Is it possible? Or was there a burner phone, or is that a lie? Yeah, the book. So part one, I went over. Rewind, Lindsay, or watch my part one. So the first part one, he says that, and he does touch on it on this part. He basically says after he kills them, he freaks out, doesn't know what to do because Shanann comes at him with a knife. She's mad about the affair. Cece won't stop crying. She over medicates her with sleeping stuff, so she stops crying. He says he was ready to choose her. He did. I mean, I was ready to choose her, but she comes home. She knew about the affair. She's mad. She attacks him with a knife. It was an accident. He killed her by accident because she came at him with a knife. So he ends up basically protecting himself and strangling her, right? This is his words. And then Bella wakes up. Cece's still sleeping. He doesn't know what to do. He calls NK. NK says, go to work. Take the girls to work. Okay. And then he says, he leaves Shanann there. NK says, I'll take care of Shanann, which means Shanann would have, because we know Shanann was found buried in Survey. So that means Shanann would have, or NK would have had to drive out to Survey with Shanann's body to bury her. Plus, Chris then goes on to say that NK helped with the girls too. So I'm taking it that she helped kill, or she did kill the girls, is what she's trying to say, I'm guessing. And yeah, so that's basically all. He says that song, that, what was it called? To go back and we'll listen. Well, we should go over the lyrics, but that song he thinks was a bad omen that was in Shanann's, a couple of backgrounds of Shanann's videos, thinks it was trying to warn him of NK. And Chris was supposed to spend that morning before work with NK. They were going to meet up before work. Unless, hold on, he does say he called her though, because I was going to say, remember he said that they still met up where they were going to rendezvous before work. Unless if he just went along with, they were meeting up anyway. He didn't call her after it happened, but he went to go meet her, like the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like his plan was to meet her. So instead of calling her, and he does that, and then he meets her like he was supposed to. And then he tells her when he meets her. And then he's like, Shanann's at home. And then she's like, okay, I'll take care of it. But no, because he says that she says, bring the girls with you. If he would have left to meet her, he would have already had the girls. So there's just things that don't match up with any theory. Because I was just trying to think, like, okay, if he didn't call her, he told her when they met up. But then the thing about, oh, bring the girls that wouldn't work. Because how did he talk to her? I don't know. I don't know, guys. But that's it. There's supposed to be a part 3, so I don't know what that's gonna entail. Now he's back in Dodge with him, so there'll be more. But like, that's one thing I wish his mom or whoever was telling him all these different theories that we all had, like it's all over YouTube. I wish they wouldn't have told him all those, because now we're gonna get so, I feel like it's just gonna be a mix of everything he's heard. I just wish he just was like didn't know any, like he just was in there by himself and not hearing this crap, and then we maybe would get a clearer thing. I think he's just getting it all mixed up and then just mixing it with his, I don't know. I don't believe it. I don't, because he's a freaking liar. But I want to go back through, and I'm definitely, it's worth going back through and checking it out, but I'm having trouble believing it. It is? Don't tell me I did it again. I'm like, okay, part 2, I'll be back. And then don't tell me part 3 is out. And I just did it again. Hold on. Let me see. If it is, then I could play the Law and Crime and try to like skim through it real quick and try to pick out some highlights. Let me see. It's crazy because each book is probably only like, let me see. Hold on, let me exit out of here. Hold on, I want to show you. "15 pages. Part 2 is 15 pages. I think part 1 was even shorter. All right, hold on. Let me see. Let me see if part 3 is out. Dang it. I'm gonna be mad at myself, because why wouldn't I have checked all 3 parts? I didn't check part 2, then part 3. Well, the first one I thought was both parts, 1 and 2. But I thought that article said part 3 wasn't out yet. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, it was up but taken down? Wait, why was it taken down? Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I got a video. I want to watch this Law and Crime video where they're talking about it. I think it was just from yesterday. But I just want to see something real quick though. Before I start that, I gotta see. Okay, so this was the article where, dude, yeah, wait, this They did. They took it off of. You gotta be kidding me. That article that linked all of them, they took that part off. Did something just happen today with it? Are you saying it was up today and got taken down? Because I swear this article had the link and now that chunk of it's gone. Hold on, let me make sure that I looked at the right one. I don't know. I feel like it's that part's not there anymore. All right, what I got to read what you're saying. Here's the picture of the, oh, I don't even have my screen saved. Here's the picture of the guy. Oh yeah, definitely. We should. You, Brittany, and Amanda, because Brittany was talking about. I didn't get to. Yeah, I had it. Well, the only reason I'm saying that is because I just wanted to see if it was still up. And but yeah, Zawalki. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, is Brittany still here? I meant to respond to her too. Um, if you well, we should do. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on. I didn't even know. Oh, thanks. Okay. But yeah, I'd be down for that. All right, hold on. Let me. So it's not on Amazon anymore, huh? Dude, is it worth it? Another 10 bucks? Do you think it's worth it? Wonder why. So was it on Amazon and they took it down? Wow, 34 months. Um, heck yeah. I would love to do an interview with Dylan. But yeah, Zawalki for sure. Brittany, I don't know if you're still here, and Amanda. I've been trying to get a hold of Amanda. I hope, yeah. So yeah, I definitely want to do a panel or collab or whatever for sure. Yeah, get a hold of me. My email's in my description, so email me. And Brittany, you know how to get a hold of me. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Um, Yeah, I want to do a little like look over and refresh myself on what you're talking about on Watts, right? It's been so long since I looked over, so I want to like go like do a little refresher course, not course, but go through my files, and then yeah, I'd be down. Um, no, you don't have to, Sarah. Plus, how would you do that? How would you give it to like? How would you buy it and then give it to me? Because I'm going to do it like where I could read it now, right? All right, I'm gonna play. Let's figure it out, and then I'll play. Oh, nice. Looks like Stacy's able to get those files. Oh, that just made my day. Okay, she's getting them off that disk. It looks like she said. Okay, yeah, here, Sarah, let me start this because I gotta use the restroom too. I'm gonna start this. We'll watch it. It's a law and crime. They talk about it. I think it was from yesterday. And then I'm gonna see about getting this book. I didn't mean to act like I was cheap, like $9. Of course I'll get it, but like, you know. Oh, okay, hold on. Let me play this. And then I'll see what that third part, if I could hurry up and find some good parts in it. All right. All right. Let me find it. Where? There it is. Yeah, it's all in crime. All right, here we go.
This shocked me just as much as I.
Hold on. I didn't. Let me plug my earphones in. I just forget to connect it. Okay.
I think it shocked the rest of the world.
Chris Watts confessed to killing his young daughters and his pregnant wife in Colorado out in 2018. And since then, he's been locked up in prison. But now we're learning new details about what he's apparently saying from behind bars. We're breaking it all down with prison consultant Justin Paperny. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. In August 2018, brutal murders took place in Frederick, Colorado. A pregnant mother named Shanann Watts and her two daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, were killed. Her husband, Chris Watts, spoke with both police and the media, saying he had no idea where his family was and he just wanted them back home safe. Shanann had just returned home from a business trip the night before. Her friend got worried when Shanann didn't respond to any messages or phone calls. Watts said he had seen his wife at the house around 5 a.m, but he had been at work at an oil company all day. But just 2 days after Shanann and the girls were reported missing, police arrested Chris Watts when he failed a polygraph test. During his interrogation, Watts finally started to tell the truth, or a semblance of the truth. He admitted he was having an affair with a woman named Nicole Kessinger, who he'd met through work. The affair had been going on for several months.
Nicole was the only one?
That was the only one.
Was there ever like a one-night stand with someone else just out of the blue and one and done?
No.
Okay. All right. Do you mind if we talk a little bit more about Nicole? So walk me through it, because that was one of the things we never really got to ask you about.
Right, we didn't.
We just kind of skipped on and talked about where the girls were. But so what happened there?
So it was probably around June 1st or something. That's when I first met her. And it was just like a work conversation that she messed with the gas meters that, we were out in the field. And I was messing up, and then, I took it to her like, hey, what's going on with this? Like, how do I fix it? And, after that, we just ran into each other a few times in the office, and I think it was probably the 4th time meeting. She had asked me, because like when we were talking back and forth, I would say, like we moved here from Colorado or from North Carolina and stuff like that. And then she's like, what's all this weed stuff you come like, I took out my phone and showed her a picture, like, my girl's on the phone. It's like, oh, okay. She's like, so, like, yeah, but I didn't wear a ring at work because like I got something else to get refitted when I got lost all that weight. So, but
you lost so much weight that your fingers lost weight?
Yeah, it was literally like I was out in the snow one time. I went like that. My ring went off on the rocks. So I was panicking trying to find out, like, I can't wear this anymore. But so after that, she left me alone for a couple days, and she texted me outside the field. And then after that, we just kept texting back and forth, and it was just, it's like, like she used to work in a low rig out in North Dakota, I think. And we just kind of trading stories back and forth about what we did and everything. And then one day it just kind of went to a different level, and then I never thought I would ever go to that level, but she was talking about meeting up after we got back from San Diego. We go to San Diego from the 22nd to the 26th of June, and we met up after we got back. And
how did you guys meet up?
At a park in Thornton. Thornton somewhere. And after that, we just kept seeing each other pretty much the whole month of July.
So let me ask you this. You tell me if I'm wrong. You strike me as somewhat of a shy person. So when you guys were meeting, was it just kind of very initiatory, like flirting at first? Okay. From both sides?
Yeah. It was just kind of like feeling each other out.
According to Chris Watts, he talked with Shanann about a possible separation and says she became enraged. During his apparent confession, he told his father that he went downstairs, and when he went back upstairs, Shanann had allegedly suffocated the two little girls. Watts says he then strangled Shanann out of anger and took all 3 bodies to a remote oil storage site being used by his employer. Shanann was buried in a shallow grave. Bella and Celeste's bodies were found in crude oil tanks nearby. And in the days after the family was discovered dead, police spoke with Kessinger about her connection to the case.
Am I in trouble because I related to sex?
You're not in trouble.
I didn't know what was going on at that point.
So I know. Does that cause question?
Of course
it does. There is, but is it criminal? No. Is there concern that you're hiding something? Potentially. That's why I want them, or I wouldn't be asking for them.
I know.
And you've been upfront with me about everything. I don't have a concern that you ever told Chris, I don't want you, go kill your wife, or get rid of your kids, or I don't want to date you if you have kids. None of those things ever came out of your mouth. We've talked about that.
No.
So, but until those text messages that are deleted are there, and all that, it's just speculation. But it's kind of like, why did you do that? And I get your excuse. I understand what you're saying, that on Tuesday you realized who this man was and what he had done. You didn't want him to be part of your life anymore, so you got rid of it.
I didn't even want to see it on my phone. It was like freaking me out because I remember I had like deleted them, and then he sent me another text, and then I deleted that one too.
Right.
This is a sad case, but it is an important one to tell nonetheless. And one of the reasons we're able to present you stories like this and talk about the law and talk about the facts is in large part to the support we get from our sponsors. And that includes Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Look, if you should find yourself in a position where you're hurt and you need legal representation, Morgan & Morgan may be who you want in your corner because they are specialists in this area. And they're so big because they win a lot. Verdicts and settlements in the multi-millions across this country. They make the process super easy for their clients because from starting your claim to uploading documents to signing contracts to talking to your legal team, it can all be done from your smartphone. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC sidebar. Kessinger said she knew Watts was married and that he had 2 little girls, but says he never spoke about hurting them or getting rid of them to be with her full time.
But just because I care about him and I care about his kids and all of that doesn't mean that I'm ready to turn around and like commit everything.
Did he ever say anything like that? Like, do I have to get rid of my kids, or do I,
This shocked me just as much as I think it shocked the rest of the world. All of it. Like, he lied so much. Now I go back and think about all this and I'm like, it's lies. Everything that they knew about him was like lies. I mean, his friends let him stay the night at their house. He even fooled them. It's not just me. He lied to everybody. He had all of you fooled. And everybody stood up for him. His friends stood up for him. I really thought she left. I was like, let her go. Come back in a day. She'll be all right. Let her cool down. She'll be here. It'll be okay. Like, had me convinced. Like, I think she's just upset. And then never would I guess. I mean, even now, when I go back through this stuff, that I'm like, it doesn't make sense, or it like seems a little off. That stuff still doesn't send a red flag to me, like, hey, this guy's gonna murder his family.
Sure. I don't think there was you didn't have any indication, and by all accounts, it doesn't seem like anybody did.
No, I just, like, sometimes I, like, try not to think what that man is thinking, because, like, you don't know, but it's like, how long has his brain been, like, shifting to this paradigm shift where he feels the need to do this? It's like, I just don't believe that it's something that just happens in a day or 2 days. I don't think it happens in 2 months. I think that this is something that takes a very, very long time to develop, and I don't.
Right. So that scares you when you look back at it?
Yeah, because I think about it, and I'm like, he could have had that capacity to do that, whether I was in his life or not.
Watts ended up entering a guilty plea in exchange for the death penalty being taken off the table, and he was sentenced to 5 life sentences with no possibility of parole. But after he was sent to prison, Watts finally revealed to authorities what really happened that night, or at least this could be the real story. We honestly will probably never know. But he says after the argument about divorce, he strangled Shanann to death, that it wasn't her killing the kids. And when 4-year-old Bella walked into the room, seeing her mother in that state, he told her, "Mommy doesn't feel good," and wrapped Shanann's body in a sheet. He put the body in his truck and drove it and the two girls to the oil site, where he proceeded to smother the children to death and hid their bodies. Since he went to prison in 2018, Nicole Kessinger has basically dropped off the map, preferring to avoid the public eye. Not surprising there. Police have never said that Kessinger had any knowledge about Watts' crimes. However, now it seems Chris Watts may be placing the blame on Kessinger for what happened. Because in recently published notes from Watts' cell out in Wisconsin, he was moved there, we've learned he labels Nicole Kessinger a Jezebel who destroyed his life. Watts evidently writes letters to God as a form of journaling. In one of those pages from 2020, he writes, "Dear Heavenly Father, I have backslidden. I am like a sheep gone astray from the flock and have fallen into a pit. The snare of the enemy has entrapped me. The words of a harlot have brought me low. Her flattering speech was like drops of honey that pierced my heart and soul." He goes on, "The blessings you have bestowed upon me were right in front of me, and still I followed the perfume of a strange woman. The enemy and his Jezebel mock and scourge me as they celebrate another capture. You, O Lord, did not leave me captive or condemned. You heard the prayer of the destitute and of the prisoner appointed to death." Now, Dylan Tallman was in the cell next to Chris Watts for around a year. He was locked up on drug possession charges, and he told the Daily Mail that he and Watts became friends and studied the Bible together. The two apparently even planned to write a book together. But when Watts backed out of that deal, apparently, Tallman instead turned the writings into a series of his own books called The Cell Next Door. According to Tallman, Watts told him that Kessinger gave him an ultimatum on the night of the murders. It's your family or me. All right, so with that in mind, and clearly a lot to talk about, I want to bring in prison consultant Justin Paperny to talk more about this. Justin, thanks for coming back here on Sidebar. First, let's, from the basic point of view, it's not uncommon for prisoners to talk to one another, let alone about their crimes, right?
It's cathartic for a lot of prisoners to talk about it. Something we encourage people to do is to really talk less and do more, because problems can follow. And in this case, it's a disastrous crime. And rather than try to show any acceptance of responsibility and own it, as we say, he's continuing to create more pain and shame and devastation for the people that he crushed. So he has no one to blame but himself. And this prisoner who's electing to write these books, he's resourceful. He's been in and out of prison, as I understand, and he's looking for an avenue to bring more attention to his work and hopefully create a path to not return to prison. But it is not uncommon for people to go to prison, to form friendships, to open up, and unfortunately say things that can only make matters worse for people they've hurt. In a high-profile case like this, it's very likely this news would get out.
And sometimes worse for themselves, because how many cases do we cover where there's jailhouse informants? Hey, I had a conversation with this guy, and let me tell you what he said, and then testifies against him in a trial. It doesn't matter for Chris Watts, because he's going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. But talk to me about the religious component of it. Do people, when they go to prison, do they have a newfound lease on religion? Do they become spiritual? Because that's what you're seeing, in a sense, from these Chris Watts notes.
I believe he's using faith or religion as a tool to advance his agenda, that this wasn't his fault. Now blaming his former mistress is tragic. The lion's share of people who go to prison and find faith use it the right way. They want to make their life better. They want to improve. They never want to return to prison. What we have with Watts is a once-in-a-century sociopathic, narcissistic killer. And because of that, he is incapable of reform. He is incapable of introspecting and recognizing that he alone is to blame for this. So it's easier to feel sorry for himself in that prison, blame other people, and cloak it under the guise of faith. Even some of his letters stating that God has forgiven him for his infidelity misses the mark. He murdered his wife, his young children, his unborn child. He's a sociopath. And like I said, one-in-a-century type narcissistic killer, though it was so shocking when he was in trouble because he looked fit, he looked healthy, he's a handsome guy, married with children. It's hard for people to comprehend this is what a killer looks like. But in this case, this is a stone cold killer. And it's a tragedy that he's continuing to make matters worse for the victims in this case, including his mistress.
And by the way, I think that's so interesting that people who are locked up, and he's going to be locked up for the rest of his life, they have to try to, it's easy for him to say God forgives him. It's easy to put himself as the victim in all this, right? Because he's trying to make sense of this situation and has to make sense of his life moving forward. But he is not the first man to be convicted of killing his wife or family while having an affair. But do you see this where they usually put the blame on the mistress, that they're the ones who led me astray, that she was the one or he was the one who kind of made me feel I had no choice but to kill my family? Have you seen this before?
No, that's why I said once in a century sociopathic killer. It's one thing to commit the crime, which is atrocious and awful. It's another to say, I'm going to make people suffer for my bad decisions for the rest of their life. So what he's done inside of that cell 24 hours a day is somehow rationalize and convince himself that he too is a victim of his mistress or circumstances or pressure, right? No one can go to prison regardless of the crime unless you rationalize. The difference is people rationalize every day. He pursued an opportunity to kill, and instead of somehow trying to make amends, he makes matters worse and uses faith or God simply as a tool to continue to advance his agenda, that he's been forgiven, which then gives him another inside lane or track to continue to blame others because of whatever he does, regardless of what he says, he's going to be forgiven. And I want to make clear to the millions of people who may watch this, most people in prison, even those who have committed violent crimes, accept responsibility and want to find a way better back and do not continue to blame. He is once in a century psychopathic killer.
I was going to ask you if that's particularly frustrating. We talk about the purposes of prison, right? There's a number of different purposes. There's deterrence, there's rehabilitation, there's recidivism, there's a lot of different reasons, but the fact that it is meant for rehabilitation purposes. Now, again, he's not going to be released back into society, but could he accept his crimes? Could he help other people in prison? Could he provide some sort of benefit while he's back there and take acceptance? The fact that he's saying this, and yes, some of these letters are older than others, but the fact that he is at that point doing that, is that particularly frustrating to you, that he's not accepting, which, by the way, right, if the video of him, so he pled guilty and you see him crying in court during his sentencing. And then he admits to investigators afterwards what he did. But the fact that he's still not quite accepting his role in it, that must be very frustrating, I imagine.
It's frustrating and sickening to me as a husband and father of 2 young children. You can imagine the pain for the families devastated by his actions. Now, in speaking with some victims over the years, even in some white-collar crime cases where the losses can be devastating and people end up practically homeless, many will say, it gets to a point where I am numb. I've lost all faith in humanity. So regardless of what my victim does to me, it doesn't matter. So there's a chance that even though he is blaming the mistress who's gone into hiding and excusing his conduct under the guise of God forgiving him, there's a point that the people that he's devastated have said, there's nothing more that this man can do to hurt me. And guess what? I will not let this psychopathic killer hurt me anymore. So there can be a sense of stoicism or calm and acceptance that follows. And frankly, that would be healthy for the victims in this case. But if I'm sickened and saddened and have chills discussing it, you can imagine the people that he hurts. And further, he continues to say things that, surprisingly, like Dahmer was killed in prison. It's a good thing he has a lot of security there, because when you kill young children, he is a target inside of that prison. So I can assure you there's a great deal of scrutiny and security from staff. And if any moment they look up, someone who's looking to hold him accountable for what he did and get in the news could look to pounce on him like they did with Whitey Bulger, like they did with Dahmer. And you could argue at some point it's coming if he doesn't shut up, if he doesn't continue to convey a different message. So I will tell victims of crimes, people will continue to hurt you, primarily the person that has stolen, or in this case, devastated your family. I have such empathy for the families that he continues to do this. I have such empathy for them.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. He can be locked up, but still continue to create harm, inflict harm and damage. But the idea of him putting the blame on this Jezebel, this mistress that he had, is that a way for him to protect himself in prison? Is that a way to say, hey, to the people around him, say, listen, it wasn't me, it was her? And, I was trying to understand why he would do that.
It's so he can sleep. It's so he can find a way to have some meaning on the inside There are people, because of his celebrity, who are enamored by him that might buy into this story. I know he receives letters from women across the country who might be sympathetic to that message. So he does it to advance his agenda, to get through very long, tough days isolated in prison. But he also does it to elicit sympathy, with hopes that he can create and find a romance through written letters in prison. And it's easier to convey that this wasn't my fault, it was somebody else's fault. And there will be gullible people out there who are in need of some meaning in their life, who will take the bait and fall for it. So it's simply to advance his agenda. Nothing he has done since killing these people and going to federal prison, nothing, he has done nothing to put the victims first. It still remains about Chris, and it will probably be that way until he drops dead inside of that prison, or until he's killed in there.
Talk to me about Dylan Tallman. You know, you have somebody who wants to seemingly profit off of his conversations with Chris Watts. Is that unusual?
It's not unusual. You had Vincent Bugliosi, an author many years ago, who wrote about the Manson killings. I wrote a book called Lessons from Prison on the Inside. My business partner, Michael Santos, wrote more than 20 books in prison. He had been in and out of the system. He's looking for a way to not return, to provide value. Clearly, there's interest in this story. So if he's doing it in an honest way and he's living a law-abiding life, much like a producer may make a movie about Goodfellas based on the mafia, I think he has the opportunity to share these insights and stories. I see nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Now, some people would say he's profiting, as some people argued I profited off my book, and I would argue I'm sharing lessons I learned from this experience with hopes of helping people. He's providing insights into the mind of a killer. What's it like to serve a sentence alongside someone who shows no remorse or shame? Criminal justice classes can learn from that. There's value that can come from that. But no, I do not have a problem with people sharing these stories about people in prison or with people that they served time.
Yeah, and I would say to that also, you know, with him, and particularly, I think it's a good. Some of the stories we cover, I know people say, you know, they know somebody similar to that, or they have a similar situation, and trying to understand kind of these patterns that we see can be helpful for people to kind of spot out some things that might be happening. But also, I think for him, and unfortunately, this is the case that we see, convicted killers become popular on the outside. There are people who get love letters and support. But if you can understand who the real Chris Watts is, so yes, he was convicted of a crime, and that might not be enough for people. Yes, you hear what he did. That might not be enough for people. But if you hear the conversations he had in prison when he's not on television or he's not in a courtroom, that could maybe be a wake-up call to people. This is the guy who should not get any support whatsoever, right? This is the guy who what he's really about. And sometimes the people really open up in prison, and in a way that they never opened up in a courtroom or on TV or anything like that, right?
When you're serving time alone, when you're in there 24 hours a day and you're forming friendships in prison, or you have people who are enamored by him because of the TV, and you're going to find people who are sympathetic to him, and you're going to find people that want to align themselves with him. I mentioned earlier when we went on air, my friend and mentor, Dr. Phil, before I filmed with him, he was talking about this case. You know, someone like Charlie Manson can find a young admirer while serving life at Corcoran, or someone like Chris Watts can get letters from people in prison. There's always going to be people who are sympathetic to it. And unfortunately, his parents are still alive. And I'm sure his parents, I know his mother visited him. She probably goes to see him and tries to offer as much support as she can. But she goes there knowing her son is a psychopathic killer. And at worst, or at best, he at least could have tried to make things better for his own family, who, like him, are going to serve a life sentence as a result of his consequences. It comes back to what I said earlier. Yeah. A once-in-a-century psychopathic, narcissistic killer who has no agenda other than his own and does not care whose lives he ruins in the process. And he does it under the guise or faith of God, which ruins the people who actually do it the right way, who do find faith, who do find God, who want to accept responsibility. He does a disservice to all people who truly mean it, which is most people in prison.
Hey everybody, Jesse Weber here from Sidebar. On this next episode of Prime Crime, it is the mysterious killing of Samira Watkins. Different suspects, secrets, lies, getting to the truth.
Okay, sorry guys, I'm trying to skim this so I could read the rest. Oh my god, I'm almost done. Wonder if I can find one more. That's why I'm not in chat, guys, because I'm trying to skim so I could read you part 3's highlights. Wonder if there's something else. Hold on. Let me see if I can find another Chris Watts I could play, like maybe another 5 minutes so I could finish. You guys don't mind, right? So then I could tell you what the part 3 is all about. Let's see here. Let me try. Let me see if there's any other new Chris Watts. I guess it doesn't have to be new Chris Watts, just until I get done with this. So I don't have to start a new one. We could just have all of them. Okay, so let's do. Hold on, let me try to find a good one we could watch. It's not too long. Hold on one second. We should watch this. Because we're refreshing. Let's watch the I haven't watched this in forever. Like I said, those of you guys that are coming in, what I'm gonna do after this is I'm gonna do the highlights of part 3. I didn't know it was out yet, so that's why I'm trying to find something we can watch it till I get it done. I'm gonna play the Chris Watts husband, the interview by Denver 7. Remember this interview, guys? Dude, I haven't watched this forever. Okay. All right. And then hopefully then I'll be done skimming it and be ready.
Yes. Chris Watts. WATTS.
Wow. What's going on right now around your house?
Right now it's you got K9 units, the sheriff's department. Everybody's like they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they can get a scent, see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, or they went somewhere. And right now it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened? Your wife came home. Tell me what's.
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here, and like about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nicole showed up at the door. Like I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say but she never got back to me. But she wasn't getting back to any of her people as well. And that's what really concerned a lot of people is like, she's not getting back to her. Like, if she doesn't get back to me, that's fine. Like, she gets busy during the day. But she didn't get back to her people, which was very concerning. And Nicole called me when she was at the door. And that's when I came home. And then walked in the house and nothing was vanished. Nothing was here. I mean, she wasn't here. The kids weren't here. Nobody was here.
What's your wife's name?
Shanann. SHANANN.
What's your kids' name?
Bella and Celeste.
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 How old are your daughters?
4. Bella's 4. Celeste is 3.
And so, how many times did you try calling her?
I called her 3 times. Texted her about 3 times just to say, what's going on. Like after I called her and texted her once, it's like maybe she was just busy. Like she had just gotten back. Like everybody's probably calling her from her trip. She just got back from Arizona. And I figured she was just busy. But when her friend showed up, that's what it was like. It registered like, all right, this isn't right.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now, I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she event? Could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like I want them back now. Like that's what's in my head. Like if they're safe right now, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe right now, that's the not knowing part. Like if they're not safe, last night I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over by the kids running in the door and just like barrel rushing me, but it didn't happen. And it was just a traumatic night trying to be here.
I'm going to ask some kind of tough questions about your relationship with your kids.
My kids are my life. I mean, those smiles light up my life. And this, like, I mean, last night, like, during, like, when they usually eat dinner, it was just like, I miss them. Like, I mean, I miss telling them, hey, you got to eat that or you're not going to get your dessert, and just like, you're not going to get your snack after. I miss that. Like, I miss them, cuddle up on their couches. They have like a Minnie Mouse couch and a Sophia couch that they cuddle up on and watch, Bubble Guppies or something. And it was just like, I I was it was tearing me apart last night, and I needed that. I needed that last night, and for nobody to be here last night and to go into their rooms and know that I wasn't going to turn the rain machines on. And I know that I wasn't going to turn their monitor on. I know I wasn't going to kiss them to bed tonight. It was that's why last night was just horrible. I couldn't do it. I want everybody to just come home. Like wherever they're at, come home. That's what I want.
Where was she gone for? She was on. She came back Sunday. You said at 2 at night.
Yeah, because her flight got delayed from Arizona because of like other storms around the nation. So she's supposed to get home like 11. She got home at like 1:48. She got in bed about 2.
What was she going for? Like family trip or like?
It was a Thrive direct sales. It was a local event that was down there between a bunch of leaders in the company.
And that day she was back. I mean,
I left work early that morning, like 5:15, 5:30. So like she barely got into bed pretty much.
And this might be a tough question, but did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like somebody has to come forward.
You spoken to her family, like her parents?
Yeah, they've been in constant contact, like every hour. I mean, everybody back in North Carolina and the East Coast. I mean, from Maine to Florida.
What is her parents saying to you? Like,
they're just like if they need to get on a flight, just let them know. Because I mean, they feel helpless right now because they're on the opposite side of the country. I mean, Colorado is. I mean, you can't just drive around and look. I mean, it's just like. You wouldn't really know what you're looking for. That's what the cops pretty much told me. That first day, I was like, I want to get out and drive around. They said, you wouldn't know what to look for.
Last couple of questions. What is law enforcement? What have the police or the sheriffs or your neighbors? Is anybody? What's police saying to you?
Right now, this is what they're doing right now is with the canines in the sense. I think this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing they've done so far because yesterday Frederick Police Department did all the searching of the house and try to gather whatever information they could. And with the detectives, officers, and sergeants, and today it's, obviously with all the activity that's around, it's there's a lot going on around here. And I really hope that all of this can lead to something positive.
What did your neighbors, did they see anything? Did your neighbors see anything?
No, like the police department went door to door asking like cameras and everything, just like nothing.
And my last question, if you have any of those, feel free to set them. My last question is, if your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring it back.
Yeah, that's it. I can take that mic off you.
Oh, mute. Okay, so I skimmed it over. So I'll read some highlights on part 3. So he's like, part 2. He clearly said or insinuated when he said, "Was it Jezebel, NK that killed your kids or whatever?" And he clearly said yes, right? So now he's talking about, oh, she basically controlled his hand, like almost like a spell. Like he quotes the scripture, like it's like he made her do it, but not did it. I don't know. We'll get to that, but it's just like he's freaking full of it. I swear, sucks because it's like there's probably is some truths in all of it, but we don't even know like what parts, So everything he says, even though there's probably truths mixed into it all, We have no clue what to believe. Okay, so let's start. So part 3 highlights. I was able to find it on Amazon. So yeah, those of you go check it out. There's 3 parts and it's called oh my god, why do I keep forgetting when it's wait. Well, let me get part 1. Hold on. Part 3. Oh, the Cell Next Door. So it's the Cell Next Door is just part 1, and then Cell Next Door part 2. Cell Next Door part 3 is by Dylan Tallman. You could find all 3 parts on Amazon. Okay. So the first part I wanted to highlight is, hold on, let me exit out of this. Okay. All right. So he goes up to Chris and he says, "You good, bro?" I asked Chris once I caught up and was walking beside him. His face was flushed and he continued to look down while clenching his jaw. And he replies to Dylan. He's like, "Oh, it's nothing really." And he replies like nonchalantly, they said. Hold on 1 second. Let me get this live caught up. Okay. And Dylan said, "Well, what happened?" Because he could tell that something would happen. And Chris said, "Oh, just some guy yelled some stuff out the window." And Dylan says, "Well, what'd he say?" "He called me daddy killer." Yeah. I mean, and then Dylan said, "I had never heard that name before that day, so it took me a minute before it clicked with me." And he says, "Those windows that are open, we walk around that bend," I asked, pointing at the windows we walked past after we walked around the track. So then he says that I noticed a flock of birds flying past. I began to wish I was a bird so I could fly out of Dodge. As we passed the pull-up and dip bars, I told Chris to remain silent because I would take care of this. Basically says, "You want to yell that again?" I challenged the guy that had yelled at Chris, who yelled daddy killer. And he stepped beside his window and hid beside it. It was pathetic. "When I catch you in the hallway, I'm breaking your nose. I promised. I promised." I looked over at Chris as we continued around the track. So Chris, got all hurt when he was called a daddy killer. Okay. And then, so then Dylan asks, remember, those of you that are just coming in, these aren't, and I'm just reading highlights, so it's going to be skipping around. So this is just a couple pages later. So Dylan asked, what is it like being a dad? He asked Chris, "Well, what is it like being a dad? Because I don't have any kids." Chris says, "It's great. It's the best thing. You go about life for them. You get to buy them gifts and see the look on their faces. You bring them cheer by something as simple as ice cream. Being a dad is a big responsibility, a great accomplishment overall," he expounded. Why does that make me sick that he's saying that? Like, you took away your kids' life. It's as simple as not killing them, not hurting them. You know what I'm saying? Like, keeping them safe. So disconnected with just, ugh. Okay, so now we're going to skip a couple pages. All right. So he takes out a picture. So now he's like, "Oh, it's a photo album time." So he shows Dylan a picture of his parents, of his sister. And then Dylan says, "Oh, she's sexy, bro." And Chris told me that lusting is a sin and all of that with it. He continued to show me pictures of his people. So I'm guessing it was his sister that Dylan's like, "Oh, she's sexy." So then he shows Dylan pictures of his daughters. He says, "These are my daughters. This is the younger one and this is the older one. This one here is my wife." And he pointed to them in his photo album, half proud of them, as if he didn't kill them. He spoke about them as if they were still alive. So then basically Dylan's like, "Oh, you have a beautiful family." And then Chris got on the phone. He called his parents. Dylan got on the phone and called Krista. He basically says, "I'll think about talking to armchair detective." And then he said he was going to have Chris send the manuscript So remember, I was talking about they did send it to Krista, the book they were writing on. So, I don't think it was finished, but they were putting it together and they wanted like it to get out. So they at least have like a copy of it. So he's like, I'll have Chris send it because he wrote it all on my legal paper, or we wrote it all on my legal paper. If the CO saw it, then they might confiscate it. So they want to get it out before it gets confiscated. So for almost 7 months, we put our mind, body, heart, and soul into these books. Krista promised to get it published. All she had to do was be my feet out there. If she let me guide her, then we could make all of this happen. I decided to trust her, so I gave Chris the manila envelope with her address on it. He had to be the one to send it out because I didn't have the funds on my account to do so. After day room, we locked back in our cells. We were going to send our book to be published soon. So I clung tightly to that hope. She would either keep her word or dash that hope to pieces. We had to have faith. We didn't have much choice. Okay, so now he tells a story when Chris and him are like working out. They're working their biceps and triceps. He says, Dylan says that he weighed 165 pounds. Chris weighed 207 at the time. But he's saying he could lift just as much as Chris could. That he was still strong from all of his time in prison. A lot of other inmates just stood around looking confused. Most of the crew on our unit had never been to prison before and didn't know how to use weights. They watched and observed how we use them, and then they would attempt to imitate us. There was a big window that separated the guards from us, but they could, of course, watch our every move. I was waiting for my turn on the universal pull-down bar when this guy walked up to me and got close. He was almost in my bubble and staring me down. And he says, you have about 2.3 seconds to get out of my face and tuck your belly in before approaching me, I said to this pot-bellied biker-looking dude. Suddenly, Chris was beside the guy. So now Chris jumps in. That's why I wanted to read this, because now Chris has all this courage or whatever. He says, yeah, or I'm going to wrap this cord around your neck and let go, Chris threatened, referring to the pull-down bar hanging down loosely. The guy looked at both of us and walked away without saying a word. So just thought that was interesting because it's kind of like not something you'd expect him to do, Chris. Okay, so hold on one second. I called Chris to the outlet and read him the poem. Okay. So Dylan reads him a poem he wrote. Chris says, amen. Little did I know then that for 4 years later, I would realize that I wrote that for him. Oh, hold on, I'm going to skip that. So maybe I should read it because Chris responds. He says, that poem really hits close to home for me, he said. And Dylan said, how so? And he said, he exhaled loudly with a sigh. He admitted, I can't always trust my parents. Yeah, let's read this. So this is the poem he's talking about. So Dylan writes this poem and then he says he realizes that he probably wrote it for Chris. And then Chris responds, wow, that really hits close to home for me because I can't always trust my parents. So here's the poem. It's called Who Can I Trust? But remember, Dylan wrote this. It says, when the enemy encloses around me, real life experiences prove my flock will flee, leaving me to those who wish me 6 feet deep. Who can I trust? I guard my heart and close the gates of my mouth to the one whose household was above my head. It began with Eve to establish every unsaved soul to inherit sin's reward with the dead. When the ones I put my life on the line for are not there for me when I need them instead. People give me empty words with their lips, for they say and not do, and I'm misled. Who can I trust in this time of greed, this time of deceit, this time of need? How about this time to give free? Everybody seems to have an ulterior motive if they act kindly, way of Satan's seed. Will there be faith on earth when our Lord comes to collect debts unto thee? Who can I trust? I only put my trust in God and serve to the end until unto himself he comes to collect me. Internally, I put my trust in God, in whom I can trust, in his glorious name. You all know it. Confess it, Jesus Christ. Amen. And then he says, Amen, Chris said. Little did I know that 4 years later, I would realize that I wrote that for him. And then that's when Chris says, I can't always trust my parents. So he said, it really hits close to me because I can't always trust my parents. So the Chris is, wonder what Cindy's going to say about this new book, what he's saying about his parents. Because he said he hasn't been too positive about his parents, even the first 2 parts. She's not going to like that. And good old Ronnie and Cindy. Anyway, wait, where does that lead into this? Okay. So he says, I can't always trust my parents. Why not? So Dylan says, why not? And he says, because they talk to the media a lot, he said hesitantly. I understood this. There were certain things that he couldn't talk to them about just in case they told those things to the media. Chris despised the media. There was nothing he hated more. Is that all? I asked, trying to dig deeper. I just felt that there were more reasons than just that. Just things like trying to open the medical files that had been sealed on my daughters, he sighed yet again. So that's one of the things he's saying that he doesn't like about his parents. He sealed. Yeah, there's still more to that. Like, remember, he sealed their medical files. And now he's saying that's one of the things that, like, he's upset because their parents are trying to open the sealed medical files. Huh. Why have the medical files been sealed? I asked. Because of the DA and my wife's family, he replied. So he's saying Shanann's family. Okay. Is that all? I asked. I didn't really understand it. Chris says, a couple small things, not really important to the subject of your poem. Just the fact that we can't fully trust anyone but God, he observed. I definitely concurred. So that makes me wonder because he's insinuating that it's something like, okay, that maybe he's protecting Shanann. Because I know, like, some people, because you have different people that think different. There's some people that, don't think too kindly of Shanann or the family. And this case has, like, so many people invested in it, and there's so many different thought processes into it. So what I'm guessing, and I know the people that are on that side, or I don't want to say that side, but are thinking that, I'm sure are gonna think that it has something to do with, like, maybe like medicines that she had him on or something. I'm not sure. I mean, he's insinuating that it's something to do with, protecting her. Isn't that what you guys are getting at? Because he's saying because of his wife and their family. So he's hiding the medical files. And it's not, I don't think it has anything to do with, because we got the autopsy results and toxicology and stuff. So it's not like it would be the time at death hiding those results. It would have to be prior medical stuff with them. You know what I'm saying? That he wants sealed. So I don't know. He doesn't think what at all. He doesn't think that at all. Oh, I never got an email, Elvin. You said you were going to email me, right, about that? I never got one from you. Did you ever email me? Okay, so what did you write, bro? I asked. Well, nothing really, just another prayer. Do you want to hear how it goes? Chris asked me. Of course, I replied. So now Chris has a prayer that he wrote, right? So Chris wrote this prayer called A Rescue Story. I started working on it in March, but decided to finish it. Check it out. He began reading. I have a backslidden. I am like sheep gone astray from the flock, and I have fallen into a pit. The snare of the enemy has entrapped me. The words of a harlot have brought me low. Her flattering speech was like drops of honey that pierced my heart and soul. Little did I know all of her guests were in the chamber of death. And then Dylan's like, man, I thought he was talking about the mistress. And then he continued reading. The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. How did I not see it? How did I let this happen? The blessings you have bestowed upon me were right in front of me, and still I followed the perfume of a strange woman. He was talking about what he had with his family, his wife and 2 beautiful daughters. He was blind to it and only saw the mistress and sees it now, I thought. So that's Dylan's interpretation of it. He continued to read the rest of what he had written. The web of enemy squeezes around my heart and is cocooning my soul to the point of suffocation. The enemy and his Jezebel mock. Oh, this is that letter. So it's basically the prayer. I read it during the first part 1 earlier today. But okay, wait. The enemy and his Jezebel mock and scorch me as they celebrate another capture. But oh, that men would praise the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful work to the children of men. You, Lord, did not leave me to captive or condemned. You heard the prayer of the destitute and of the prisoner appointed to death. You opened my eyes. You made my ears ready to perceive. And you said, come forth. The web of death loosened its grip, and I walked into the light of your presence as I humbly kneeled before you. You said, go and sin no more. Your faith has made you whole, he finished. And Dylan's like, bro, that's your transformation, your testimony, I pointed out. I didn't speak of noticing everything he was venting about, but it had to do with escaping the death penalty. So this is Dylan's thoughts. How he came to Christ when the filth of the world was heavy upon him. He kneeled and gave his life completely to God and felt his hand on him. He told me before. There was a lot more that I read into, but I let it be for now. And then Dylan says to Chris, people are going to be reading this with a microscope. They will learn stuff that they are looking for. Sure. However, they will also receive something they're not searching for, and that's the message of Christ, Chris explained. It was actually a genius way of telling the truth about his case. He didn't want to come out and say it, rather give the message with a message. Genius. The truth shall set you free, I said. Knowing this was going to be very interesting. All right. Okay. So now, skip some pages. So Chris must be coming back from somewhere. And he says, where'd you come from, bro? I asked Chris. He pulled up a chair by the outlet. So I grabbed my plastic chair as well. I just came from the business office, he told me. What the hell did they want? I asked. I was on the phone with some lawyers about signing my house over again. So he was being asked to sign the house over to the victim's family, so Shanann's family. I kept him from signing it over at that time because there would be evidence yet to help his case. If he could hold off and get that private investigator Anna hired, or even anyone else to sweep the house, it may have been helpful. He needed new facts, new circumstances, and then he could possibly get out in 20 years instead of never. So he asked Chris, well, what did you tell him? Well, last time I told them I didn't have an envelope to send them the signed agreement. This time I just told him that I didn't want to, he explained. Chris was getting more and more of a spine. I'm impressed. This is good news. All we have to do is find you a lawyer and a private investigator, I told him. I know, but I have to give it to her family. It's the least I can do, he sighed. So, and so he asked, so a little bit farther down, Dylan asked how much money him and his wife made. And he said, her and I together, we made well over 100,000, he said. He asked, what did she do? What did Shanann do? She was pretty successful at selling Thrive. She was the breadwinner out of us, he admitted. And then he asked, what exactly did you do at work? I asked. And Chris said, I basically was the guy with the clipboard supervising. Okay, I see. So now they're going on about like having kids and stuff. So when we get out, I'll teach you what I'm really good at, he said. And what's that? I asked him. So he's talking about like fixing cars, how he's good at fixing cars. Dylan says, I don't know much about cars. Well, you're going to have to have a trade. And he says, with all those hoes you're going to knock up, kids are expensive. My daughter's medical bills, especially kids get sick a lot. So Chris is saying, like, this is Chris saying, food, clothing, they grow up fast, daycare, toys, and a lot of patients, he said. I was half kidding about knocking up hoes. Okay, wait, he just left. And then he goes on to say, but like never having a clean shirt without a stain because they have puked on all of them, crying in the middle of the night, changing diapers, just getting out of dead sleep. Are you ready for all that? Chris asked him. And Dylan says, women change diapers. Us men come home from work and say, women, dinner on the table now. I laughed as he stifled away a laugh while sighing. I was kidding. And then Chris says, my wife would have killed me, dude. And I had a lot of responsibility with them, he said. And then Dylan says, it sounds like you're doing too much work and taking care of the kids. And Chris said, when I came home from work, I would make food for them, play with them, bathe them, read them a bedtime story, and put them to bed. I did a lot with them some days. What did she do? Dylan asks. Well, she was really busy with her job and everything it required. Some days she would do a lot with them too, he told me. I got to ask, what went so wrong with y'all that you ended up straying with Nicole? I pressed, and he paused for a few seconds. I started working out and I brought my weight down to like 168. Women were noticing me and I met Nicole. Oh, hold on. Women were noticing me and I met Nicole. She was just everything my wife wasn't like with me. She was just nice and not a control freak. We could make decisions together. Wait, how long were you together or messing around? I thought it was 5 weeks, I asked. And here is where, interesting, we knew each other for a while, but we didn't start messing around until 6 weeks before. So remember, they both said they just met. They didn't know, they didn't act like they knew each other for a while, but we knew that so they weren't being honest because she did those Google searches like the year prior, remember? So I don't know. Doesn't surprise me to know, we thought like that was one of the things that we're all like, dude, they knew each other longer than what they're saying. But yeah, he's saying we knew each other a while, but we didn't start messing around until 6 weeks before. Yeah, I was not thinking. We worked together. We had chemistry and I fell into temptation. Kind of like Garden of Eden, Dylan says. And then Chris says, she was the forbidden fruit. And then Dylan says, so how did she not get wrapped up in any of this? I asked him. And then he says, well, there are some complications with that. Dylan says, like what? It took him a while to respond. So it took Chris a while to respond. And he says, well, and pauses a lot before he reveals something that is hard for him to say. She didn't exactly do much to incriminate herself, Chris admitted. I don't think I want to know, bro. I really don't. So Dylan's like, I didn't want my opinion to change, of him to change. If he told me what I thought he was going to tell me, how could he murder his girls in cold blood? It just made no sense at all. These little girls were 3 and 4. They loved him and he loved them. Hold on 1 second. So he managed to say, so that Chris says, just know it wasn't my hand actually doing it. And then Dylan says, he told me that before. I still couldn't comprehend what he meant. Okay. So then like time to eat. And that's all I managed to mutter to him right then. And then skipping forward a few pages. We closed ourselves into our cells for the rest of the night. Chris slid another writing through my door before locking in. I, of course, grabbed it and looked at it. The lighting was dim due to nighttime creeping. In this particular entry, he focused on Jezebel yet again. I noticed the part that said, surely there was no one like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the sight of the Lord, because Jezebel, his wife, incited him. So Dylan knocked on the wall, waited for Chris's response. Chris says, yeah. Dylan says, I love the entry you wrote. However, I noticed the part about Jezebel, how she incited the king to do evil. I feel like this one is personal, I pointed out. It also hit home with me, as I too have been incited by women to do evil in the sight of the Lord. There is a proverb that describes her. Look up Proverbs 7:21-23. Chris directed me. It was getting muggy in my cell, and I was wishing that I had a fan to cool off. I obliged and looked up Proverbs. With her many persuasions, she entices him. With her flattering lips, she seduces him. Suddenly, he allows her as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as one in fetters to the discipline of a fool, until an arrow pierces through his liver, as a bird hastens to the snare, so he does not know that it will cost him his life. This was one of many scriptures he used to describe this woman. This is about your Jezebel, I shouted, a little too loudly for my own taste. She was the death of me. So now Chris is saying, she was the death of me. However, I have been born again, and God put me here for his own plans, he said. And then Dylan says, well, why would he want you in this foul place? Then Chris answers, the first Christians lived under heavy persecution. Look at Paul. He wrote his best work from prison. He was in prison 7 times for the gospel, Chris explained. And we're not being persecuted. We're being prosecuted, and not for the gospel. We are at best the criminals on the cross next to Jesus, I replied, causing him to go silent for a moment. Well, Jesus came for individuals as ourselves. The first disciples were tax collectors, a murderer, and a prostitute. They were all sinners. He didn't come to call the righteous. He came to call sinners to repentance. He conveyed, I understood that. Perhaps more than anyone. However, I don't think that God intended for him to kill his pregnant wife and his children. It didn't sound like he intended to either. So, hold on. So, Dylan asks Chris, so where are you on that list? And Chris says, I could have probably heard a pin drop. No, Dylan says, I could have probably heard a pin drop from how silent he became at that moment. I thought he had vacated the conversation with the delay in his next response. Yeah, so Chris answers, I would be considered as the likes of Barabbas. Am I saying that right? Chris admitted Barabbas was the murderer that was held before the crowd with Jesus. Where am I? And Pilate offered to release, or was held before the crowd with Jesus, and Pilate offered to release him or Jesus. No, knock it off. He's like, you're not. He was a murderer. Dude, you are not. You didn't mean to kill your wife. So now Dylan is trying to like, no, you didn't mean to kill your wife. That's not you. And then Dylan's like, I said that not even thinking of the children. I was closing my eyes to the facts. I didn't even want to know anymore. I loved Chris like a brother, and I didn't want to look at him the way everyone else did. And then Chris says to him, you deserve to know you're my spiritual twin, he said. I was sure if I actually wanted to know. Some people say that you are the company you keep. This is true. If this is true, did we click because we're both evil spirits? No, that was nonsense. Get it off your chest, brother, I said, allowing him to tell me more of his story. So this is Chris talking about NK now. So he says, Nicole kept saying not to go to the police. Not yet, and to lay low. She told me she would marry me. We would sell the house and everything and move. I told her that my older daughter saw enough to incriminate us or incriminate me. I told her that my wife's body was still in the house. She held me tight, told me not to worry, said she would send somebody to get it and bring it to work. This sounds horrible. Get it? You're talking about Shanann. She would send somebody to get it and bring it to work like nothing happened. She held me and told me that it would be just the two of us. She kissed me and made me feel like I couldn't lose her. I would do anything for her. He stopped, took a deep breath, and exhaled. I thought I knew where this was going. I really didn't want to know. I also knew the power of love and deception. So basically, yeah, now he's saying that NKA, Nicole's the one that says, like, no, hold off. Don't go to police. Lay low. And, he's touting her like, well, my oldest daughter saw enough. She saw enough to incriminate me. So it's basically Chris throwing out like, yep. Like thinking like, well, we probably have to get rid of her. She saw enough. She saw enough to incriminate me. Why would Chris, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I don't know if I believe any of this, to be honest. But don't worry, she says. I'll get somebody to get it. So what does that mean? I'm sure like he's insinuating because he knows everybody's thoughts that they think Jim had something to do with it because she called him. So I'm sure he knows people are going to think of that if this is all full of like lies. I don't know. Anyway, so like, I mean, it's a possibility. We know Jim was there the next day. He was in town. So, I mean, now, is he saying that it wasn't her that went and got Shanann? It was somebody else that brought that she, you know what I'm saying? She would send somebody, or did she go with Jim? Anyway, she held me, told me it would just be the two of us, kissed me, made me feel like I couldn't lose her. I would do anything for her. He stopped, took a deep breath, and exhaled. I thought I knew where this was going. I already read this. Why am I just almost got like so into it again that I forgot I just read this. Yep. But anyway, I thought I knew where this was going. I really didn't want to know. I also knew the power of love and deception. It's all right, bro. The Lord forgives anyone of any sin. You know that, I reassured him. That is what I meant when I told you that she made me choose between my family or her. The girls were what was left of my family. I chose her, he confessed. Wow. So Dylan asks again, so who killed the girls? I asked the question of questions. Chris says, I told you it wasn't my hand doing it. I can't remember a lot. It was like I was possessed. So he said that same thing in Sherilyn Cattle's book. Felt like he was possessed, okay? You know how Jezebel ordered King Ahab to kill Naboth for his vineyard? Chris asked me. Dylan says, I'm very familiar with 1 Kings. I replied, I knew it. She convinced him to kill his daughter. So he's thinking, I knew it. That's what he's saying. She convinced him. Okay. I saw myself. So Chris is saying, I saw myself doing it, but it's like it wasn't me. Though I was numb and on autopilot, I couldn't hurt them. So I just stopped them from breathing. Chris managed to say. That makes it, I couldn't hurt him, so I just stopped him from breathing. Yeah, so I'm not hurting him. I'm just stopping him. What? So he's basically saying it is him that did it. She just forced his hand by her power, her love, her manipulation, her power of what she was going to give him if he chose her, like, you got to do this. Okay, I saw myself doing it, but it wasn't me, though I was numb and on autopilot. I couldn't hurt them, so I just stopped them from breathing, Chris managed to say. And so then Dylan asked, so she helped you with your wife's body? And then Chris says, I really don't want to take anyone down with me. I did it. She captivated me with her smooth words, dripping honey in Proverbs 3 for 5. Chapters 3 to 5. I can't talk, but Proverbs. She told me a dream and brought me a nightmare. She only helped with the order for me to kill like King Ahab. So she only helped me with the order, okay? As far as hiding them, she helped me, he admitted to me. You need to start guarding your heart because that is way overboard. What did she do when you got arrested? I asked Chris. She pretended to be clueless, Chris says. He said with a sigh. Dylan says, where's she now? She don't care about you. As soon as you got caught up, she bailed. On to the next. Where is she now? I pushed for an answer. Chris says, nobody has heard from her. From her or of her, he said flatly. She is in hiding in case she ends up incriminated in this mess, I informed him. So Dylan's saying she's hiding. And all Chris managed to say is, yeah. And then Dylan says, so what are we going to do? And then Chris says, we're going to get our book, God's Plan published, and then people will find the truth within the truth. Then the job is done, Chris assured me with confidence. I don't know. I think it's basically what I'm taking now from all this is it's almost like the same thing he's been saying. I mean, she is the reason he did it. We know she's the reason. We know she gave him a choice. I mean, we know she wanted him to choose. Like, but did she want him to choose? Was he telling her? Was it literally like, you have to kill the people you don't choose? Like, okay, if you choose me, you got to get rid of them? Or was she meaning get rid of them, like out of your life and come to me? And he took it like she's telling me to kill them. You know, but we already know she's the reason he did it. Okay. Now, I want to just know how direct was that order? Did he really contact her that morning? I don't know if I believe that she's the one that came back and got rid of Shanann. So supposedly he's saying he met up with her before he went to Survey because he said he met up with the place they were going to meet anyway. And then that's when they're talking some more about, you know, what do I do? Shanann's back at the house. I just feel like as the parts kept continuing, it was almost like some of them became not accurate. That's why it's like it's so many lies, he can't even keep it straight because some of it just didn't fit even within these 3 parts, right? I don't know. I don't believe him. I mean, it is what people have been thinking, wanting, because a lot of people want her to be involved, or they think she's involved. So I don't know. I gotta let that absorb a little bit. I don't know. I think he's a liar. But obviously there's some truth in all this. So that's the 4th confession, basically. Like, big confession. You had the one in the interrogation room, the one where they went to Dodge, Sherilyn Cadle's, almost A and B with Sharon Cadle. Like, there was the first one from her book, and then there was all that crazy stuff that came out like after the first book. I think she even did a second book, but remember, like, more stuff that she, like, legally they told her not to put in the first book that came out. So it's almost like the 3rd confession has 2 parts to it, and then this is the 4th, or I should say 4th story. 4th, yeah. I don't know, guys. Hey, Gigi. Yeah, no, he did. He said she helped in the part 2. He said, so did she, how did he word it down? Like, so she killed, did Jezebel kill your kids or whatever in part 2? And he just answered yes, remember? And then in part 3, she said no. And then he did say she helped with Shanann to get rid of Shanann. So he's like, okay, she's going to take care of it. And then later on, it's like, okay, she is going to send somebody to take care of Shanann. Now, I would consider that being helped. You know what I'm saying? That she helped. I mean, he's saying that. I don't know if I believe him. Anyway, What letter? You talking about the book? I just read the 3 parts. Wait, did you yeah, thanks, Sarah. Did you listen? So I did part 1, I did in the live before this, and then this one I did part 2 and part 3. The letter, it's a book, it's not a letter, but there was like just one little prayer letter that I read in part 1, but that's not, I'm talking about the book. So supposedly the cellmate Dylan is writing down what Chris told him. Is that what you mean? Yeah, definitely. GG, rewind. So I'm sorry, there was a big space between part 2 and part 3. So I didn't realize part 3 was out. So at the beginning of this live, I went over the highlights of part 1 or part 2, and then I realized somebody's like, no, part 3 is out. So I'm like, oh my God. So I played a couple of videos while I was skimming to pick out the highlights of part 3. So there's kind of like a half hour or maybe 40 minutes in between part 1 and 2. So I apologize. But yeah, it's definitely, maybe I'll do a couple short pre-records. I'll clip out, make a couple clips from this on some of the more like important things and make like a couple pre-records. Cause I mean, there's some things that it's just crazy though, because we're all so into this case and invested in but it's like, I feel like a big part of us know that it's probably just a bunch of lies. Like, okay, so if we took down all 4 stories that he has, how much percentage do you think of truth is going to be in there? Do you think somewhere in all 4 of those, the whole story lies? Or do you think there's still stuff left out that he is not in any of the stories? Or do you think do you think he's almost like every time he's just adding one more little truth in there? And then if you like eventually all of the how many it ends up being, there's gonna be everything's in it all, but you just have to piece the parts. Like I still feel like he's holding on to something. He's not gonna let go of every single thing. Like there's something out of all these that he still is holding on to that he hasn't released. You know what I'm saying? Because that's power. That's power to him. And if it's all out there, even if it's all jumbled and you don't know which is which, but if every little thing that he had said, you just don't know which pieces go together. I still think he's holding on to something, but I don't know what it is. 10%? Okay. But I'm talking about like, you don't think that if you put all of the stories together and you're able to just like exactly what happened, and then you take exactly what happened, you're able to pick out and like piece it over. If exactly what happened with all the parts and like put over the parts, how much will be filled of exactly what happened? You only think 10%? I think probably 80% at least. But it's still, I mean, he's given so many different scenarios. It's still hard to, there's so many different combinations. You know what I'm saying? But I think there's a big chunk of it, but there's so much. I don't know which parts all go together. You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense or no? Yeah, I want to do. Oh, Dark Sea, yay, you're here. Soul, you made it too. Yay. But so I'm talking about all of the, like everything. You only think that there's 15% of, and all of that, if you were being able to like take out all of it of, you know what maybe I'm not wording it right. Because if that's the case, then you're thinking that there's that much that he never came out of his mouth that happened. So what are the other options that could have happened? Like singly, just specific things. You see what I'm saying? But no, but I don't think I'm wording it right, and it's okay. I'll explain to you later. Because I mean, I think he's a liar too, but I feel like there's little truths in all the stories mixed in. And I don't know which ones they are. That's why it's just like, it's almost like frustrating in a way. But this is the first time he said right? That he flat out directly said that she was involved. I mean, he always hinted. Well, he did say about the drug. Remember, like, her drugging him too? The Sherilyn Cadle, that came from her. How she was giving him that drink and stuff. Remember that story? There are so many different things. That would be what I think too, Soul, if I were to guess. But I'm not talking about like one singly. I'm talking about putting them all together, and then you're able to like have the truth, and then out of all of them, you're able to like pick out whatever parts really happened and add to like to complete the puzzle of what really happened. How much would be filled with all of it? So is somewhere in the mix of all those stories the truth? You could piece them, and it's all. You see what I'm saying? I think at least probably 80 because he's put out so many different scenarios. But like which parts? But if I were to just like have to pick one scenario together as it is, I always thought the Dodge one was the most like I believe the most, but I don't know. I forget. I have to go over the Sherilyn Cadle one. Like I'm forgetting some of that stuff where she came out after, and the stuff that like came out where she didn't release it. Because remember, that was crazy with him killing his kids twice. Like, and then like, oh my God. Oh yeah, I don't like if that's not true, where does somebody come up like why are you even making that up? Like there has to be somewhere where he's getting it out. That's why I think like there's a part of truth there where maybe like he did suffocate one and they woke back up. I do feel like that had to have came from somewhere. Like that it happened in a way, maybe not exactly how he said, but I do think that happened because how would he think to just say that? That makes him sound so, I mean, why would he even want to say that happened? I just think that it's something like that happened where one of the kids woke back up. I really do. But maybe it wasn't exactly how in that scenario. But man. Oh, my nose itches. So how's everybody doing? Yeah, so I think well, I'm probably do a panel. I know Brittany wants to do one with Amanda, and then Kawaki or what was his name? Maybe if he said to do a collab, unless he just wants to do a collab, me and him. But maybe I'll see if we could all do a panel of what's within this weekend. See if I can get a hold of Amanda, Brittany, and what was his Kawaki? Is that what his name? Am I saying his name right? Zawako. Wait, Zawoki. I don't know how to say it right. Zawoki. So yeah, maybe we could all do it. I just want to like look over some stuff. Dude, I should get out the case files. I have it on a jump drive. Because that was from when I had a different computer when I went over that. I don't even know what else to say about this this new stuff. I don't know if there's going to be a part 4. I'm guessing, well, no, because I think this was a 3-parter, but I'm guessing that, wait, how did that end? Hold on, let me see if it ended. It was hard. Yeah. Yeah, I think like as far as like this part, I think 3 was all that there was, but he's in this, he was saying how he's going back to Dodge, so he's probably gonna get more book material if he's talking to Chris. I don't know, who knows. That's what I was just reading. You want me to, well, I don't, Oh yeah, I chose because you can only, like, you read certain excerpts, and I chose just like, I don't know why I can't say that word right. Every time I say it, it sounds, I feel like I'm not saying it right. But yeah, so I don't want to read too much. I just wanted to kind of read the stuff about the case. But yeah. Or I would, but since, yeah, so I kind of read the highlights. Oh, it does. Well, to me, it doesn't look like it. When I read the epilogue, it doesn't seem like it. You're saying a part 4? That's why I just went and read it when I was like, wait, is there a different part? That's what I went back and read the ending, and it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't make it seem like there is going to be a part 4. You do think there is? Oh, wait, there was one last shoot, hold on a second. There was one page after. I thought this was the end. I didn't realize there was one more page. Hold on one second. Let me see what it says. So it says it hits close to home because it's my story. I'm in this true crime story because of Chris's case. He's been a brother to me for years. Writing this book was basically me reliving things that I tried to leave in the past. I've decided to end part 3 where I did, but the story will go on. The next book will have all of the drama, the betrayal and the lies, the secrets, media storm, my second imprisonment with Chris, and the last but not least, the complications with the books we wrote. The real will be separated from the fake. There will be also a few more facts about the case. Okay. I hope readers were able to see Chris in a different light through the struggles. Chris and I clicked up and were very productive. Our mission was to release God's plan. Until he suddenly changed his mind. He changed his mind because he told the story of his case through scripture. Chris gave 2 messages, first being the gospel of Jesus Christ, the second being the facts of this case. I bring to life the story behind all this. I also bring to life the story of this case, according to Chris. Until next time, Dylan Tallman. Thank you. I didn't realize there was one more page. I didn't click over. I thought that was the end. Thanks. Jamie. Thank you. I'm glad you told me. Okay. So that does answer it. All right. Well, I'll have to get it and do some highlights when it comes out. Well, Cindy, I don't know if she has another one out, but I remember a couple years ago when I was still covering it, she had one that came out. But remember, hold on. I gotta remember. Somebody, what was her name? It was somebody was helping her, working with her, befriended her, went to her house. She was writing a book, and then they end up like taking the book and publishing it before it was done. And I remember it wasn't done, and there was a few chapters. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Maybe she came out with another book, but there's a few chapters, and I read it. on, somewhere in one of my I think I did it in like 2 or 3 parts. We read it and gave my thoughts. But yeah, she was kind of upset because it was, I forget the Kim. No, not the Kim we were thinking of, but I forget what the girl's name is. But kind of like betrayed her or something and then released the book and she wasn't done with it, right? But maybe she came out with another one. But do you guys remember that? Dang it, that was a long time ago. It was interesting though. I remember going through it. Like I think it was like 3 chapters or something. Maybe more, but I remember reading it and like talking about it and like, whoa. I feel like it gave me a lot of thoughts to talk about. I remember that. Yeah, or something. There was so much with that case. I guess there probably is still stuff going on. I just haven't followed it maybe like behind the scenes, but there was just like so much went on behind the scenes with the family and friends. And then remember after everything died down and then Kim came out and then, yeah. Wow. You guys remember? And then the Netflix, I think it was the Netflix first and then Kim, because Kim the whole time was like waiting for her time to come out. Remember, she's like, it's not the right time. Cindy's like, no, come on, we got to do it. Not the right time. Not the right time. And then they picked, I'm pretty sure it was right after the Netflix, right? That they ended up coming out, because tons of people, oh my God, maybe not right after, but tons of people, it was like a so many people flooded my videos again. So I remember I started covering it again a little bit, because then Kim came out with her, she was talking to Chris, and she did the whole thing where, like, remember she did her whole theory of basically Shanann. It was like Shanann being the one killing kids and stuff, remember? And she even did like the reenactment and stuff. Oh my Lord. And like some of the stuff. And then so that's why I started doing it again, to like go against her. Not to go against her, but I had a different opinion, and I was like trying to debunk some of the stuff she was saying. That was interesting. Yeah. Wow. And then the Atlanta with the freaking Nicole Atkinson trying to like that phone, and she kind of got like was it the day or the time mixed up or whatever. I don't think she ever did correct it, but I debunked it because I was like, nope, that's the wrong time or day or there was something, but I don't think she ever correct. I think she just like stuck with it, but like I don't know. There was about like trying to say Nicole Atkinson left, came back, basically like snuck in Chris Watts' house that night. Nicole Atkinson. Yeah, it was crazy. Crazy. Sorry, I'm just rambling on. So those of you old school Watts or that was following it, you saw. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Or is everybody lost? Who knows, remembers what I'm talking about? Or who's able to follow me, what I was saying? I got to know how many people. I'm sure some of you, because if you were like following the whole stuff like consistently, I'm sure some people do, but some people probably don't. Yeah. So yeah, dude, let's cool. Got some my old school Chris Watts people. But yeah, so I asked Brittany, maybe let me see what she was thinking, because I was gonna try maybe like this weekend we could do. I just want a little bit of time to kind of like refresh on some of the basics, because it's been forever. And then I'll get a hold of, Brittany said, yeah, I gotta somehow get a hold of Amanda, and then that Cowouts, or what's his name? Why can't I say his name? Zawalki. Oh, it's like Zawoke. Zawoke. Wait, hold on. I don't know. But yeah, I'll see if he wants to. So yeah, guys, I'll let you know. I have a little Watts reunion. I wouldn't mind. Yes, thank you, Sarah. I wouldn't mind doing you know what I wouldn't mind doing is watching the NK interrogations again. So we have the original ones that came out, you know, the ones that were out the first, and then we have, remember, the ones that came out like a year later or years later, they came out, they only had the audio and then the video came out. Remember, we could watch that too. I wouldn't mind doing that. And then just going through all of hers. So I even have the original, like the very first ones where they're at the park. It's just audio and you could hear the dogs and stuff. We could kind of go in order and listen to them. Now that we have this whole other theory that Chris is saying, and kind of watch him now, knowing what he's saying, and see if anything kind of clicks, like, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you watch things like knowing stuff, you could watch it. You could have watched it a million times, but it's years later and you have like more knowledge, and then you watch it and it brings on a whole different meaning because you know like this much more stuff. So now you can watch it with a different set of eyes. You know what I'm saying? Different perception. So yeah, let's do that. We'll call it like NK. I don't know what we'll call it, but yeah, I want to do that too. Okay. So I'll try to plan that panel with them and then plan the NK stuff I could just do by myself. Just watching it with you guys. Marathon. We could do like NK interrogation marathon or something. But hold on, let's do a poll before I end it. So I'm at 2 hours and 30 minutes. Perfect time. I want to do a poll. I want to see where everybody stands here on this. Hold on. Let's do I'm trying to think how to word this, because of course if I just say do you think Chris is the book, whatever what Chris said to Dylan is true, that's too vague, because of course some of it's obviously a lie, you know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to think how to word it. Hold on. I'll just put this is gonna be really vague. I'm just gonna put, do you think any of Chris's new story checks or is true, or I don't know how to word this. There's so many. I'll just say, do you think what he said about NK is because I also want to know if you think what he said about Shanann is true, because I'm sure some people, you know, everybody has there's so many different viewpoints on this case that there will be some people that will. I don't know if anybody is going to be in this chat that do, but there is people out there that I guarantee would say, yeah, too. I don't, but like, I know there are people that will. So let's start with NK. Do you think, I'll let's do this first. I just want to see kind of what, okay. Write a letter. Who are you writing a letter to? Oh, to Chris? Oh, but Sarah, are you leaving? I'm about to end it too. Yeah, you think so, Alicia? Drop in these pearls. Catch the empanada. That's funny. Thanks, guys. This has been good. Good. I'm glad everybody came and shared their thoughts. Wait, Jamie, play it for Dill? Oh yeah, Zawoki. Oh, do you know Dylan, Jamie? Wait, were you the one that said you should interview Dylan? Aren't you? Do you know him? I'd like to interview him but wait, is he at Dodge though? Because when was this thing? Because he said he was going back in. When was this? Okay, cool. When? Oh, I missed a lot. Oh my god, I missed so much. Well, sorry, I missed a lot in chat because I was reading. But yeah, I'm sorry, is that rude? Oh, I just saw. Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, let me know. Ask him if he would like to. It's got to think of some questions, and yeah, I would definitely like to because it definitely sparks like, man, a lot of thoughts. Like what? Like to know like what? Yeah, I could think of some questions. I'm already thinking of some. Yeah, let me know. Okay, cool. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that when you were saying like, oh, the epilogue. Didn't know. But I'm glad you told me about that though, because I missed that last page. So now I know for sure what about. Okay, cool. Mm. Okay. No, you're not disgusting. Whole large finger. You gotta eat. You gotta eat. I ate like like I was so freaking hungry after that first live. Well, I ate so fast, so fast. Oh my god, I ate so much, and then I ate a Snickers ice cream bar. Oh my god, I shouldn't have ate that Snickers ice cream, but I ate like a big plate, and I couldn't so fast. Wow, are you serious? Okay, dang it, that's awesome. I'm glad I stopped and read chat a little bit. I would have missed all that. Cool. Well, I don't know who Zawaki is. He just came in. He came in and he asked if he wanted to collab. To be honest, I never watched his channel. I never heard of him, but I mean, I'll check it out because he came in and asked to collab and showing some support, so I'll go check him out. But I've never heard of him. But what? I don't know what that even means, but I'm gonna check him out. But yeah. I'll go check him out though. Yeah. Like I said. Okay, cool. Yeah. I didn't even know he had a channel. That was the first time I ever seen him in chat. I was like, okay, cool. Check it out. And then when he said something, everybody said like he does a good job covering Watts. So I don't know. But also, like, you got to remember, just because people have guests on or whatever, it doesn't mean like everybody has the same opinion. You know what I'm saying? So even though, like, let's say I have anybody on and you're like, I don't agree with that person. So I don't know but it doesn't mean if like a guest comes on or you collab, it doesn't mean you have the same opinions. You know what I'm saying? I would hope you don't. I mean, everybody has different opinions and thinks differently, but yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. That definitely is making me want to check him out. Go check, support him, see what he's all about. Now that I'm gonna be, is he all curse Watts? Or does he just do true crime? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And that's what makes it like better. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be kind of boring if everybody agreed. Well, I mean, but yeah, no. So yeah. Did we ever find out who the third person was that they were gonna have? I don't who, Alicia? Are you talking about? Are we talking about Chris Watts or what? What case are you? What are I don't know. Are you talking about a case or no? Um, me surprised Jamie about what? Wait, surprised about what? Tell me. I missed it. I missed it. Or maybe you weren't talking about me, were you? Oh, were you talking about Sarah? Are you talking to her? About her? I don't know. All right, guys. All right, Darcy, I'm glad you can make it, or you made it. Thank you. And Sarah, you did a great job. That was a big crowd, a lot of people. You rock, girl. Thank you. And Soul, you. Who else? Was it just you? Three. I'm only going up so much, but wow. Yeah, and there's a lot of people in here. Good job, guys. Oh, okay. But that's fine. There are a lot of people that are. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of people that are, a lot of people that don't think she's involved, some people that think maybe a little bit. So like I'm pretty open to have, pretty open to other people's opinions. And I'm not saying that I'm going to take them on, but just to hear them and either say I disagree or look into them or whatever. But you'll find out with the Chris Watts case, there's a lot of people that think she's like, she was there that morning. That was her in the video. Like, there's a lot of people that think that. I personally don't think she was there that morning with him, but I'm not mad at people that do. You know what I'm saying? I'll just debate them and try to be like, no, I don't think that because of this or that, But so yeah, I'm sure that doesn't make him a bad guy though, right? Like I said, I don't know. I'm gonna go check out his channel, but I mean, I'm sure from what everybody in chat was saying, everybody's like, "Oh, we love him." So I'm sure I'll do a collab with him, even if I don't agree with his opinions. I'm up for it to just do, debate or talk about it. Heck yeah, because there are a lot of different opinions on that. I'm not going to agree with. I feel like a lot of people. Well, no, I mean, I don't know. I would like to do a poll. I wish I could get 100,000 people a poll or something, like a lot of people that have been following this case and see how many people think NK was there compared to not. Because I'm curious, because I think there is a lot. And I used to think more people, like if you take everybody that's followed the Chris Watts case, I used to think that there was more people than not that thought she was there and more involved. But when I think about it now, I'm almost thinking it might be kind of like even, like if you take everybody. I just think the people that are more vocal that think she's involved because the other people are more satisfied of what happened. You know what I'm saying? So they're not as vocal. But I don't know. Now with this new stuff, it makes me want to kind of go through it and reevaluate it. But I wish I could. I wish I could do a poll with way more than what my, any of my videos get, to get a better feel of how many people think that. What do you guys think? Do you think it'd be a 50-50? Or do you think more people think she was involved? Oh. Oh, no, not at all. There's a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that, Alicia. I could definitely see that. Definitely. I should end this so it doesn't go too long, though. I could. I'll put it on a community page, but it's still not going to get like hundreds of thousands. I would love to somehow reach like even like 1 million. I mean, you know, there's millions of people that follow the case. Where can we reach that amount of people to get like a good poll? Wonder, is there like a poll that we could continue passing it around? Like I could pass it to different channels and just get, you only vote once and just get as many people on that? Because I'm just so curious. Yay, Magpie! All right, I'm going to end this so I can work on some other stuff. Yeah, that's true. That's true, KFC. KFC 89. All right, thanks, everybody. Thanks for gifting, Soul. Okay. Puppy. Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, let me know if he wants to do an interview. I'll be down. And thanks for coming and chatting. That's cool. And you came and listened. That's what I'm thinking. I've always thought that, but then when I was just thinking about it recently, I'm just like, but wait, maybe it's just because they're more local. But I bet, I don't know though. I'm thinking probably more, but maybe not as much more as I used to think. Oh, Casey, thank you. All right, I'm gonna end the poll. Thank you, 9 months, and thanks, guys. Okay, cool. Thank you. She did just disappear. Yeah, she did, dude. She was quick. She did what did she call that? Damage control really quick. I mean, she like everything's offline. I mean, you could barely find stuff. Now I do have, well, I mean, there are some pictures floating around. Unless if she just never really was big on social media. But she had some, and we know she had a Facebook she deleted. But yeah, I mean, where is she? I mean, she's gone. She's gone. I mean, she changed her name, remember? You can't see what she changed it to, right? Remember, I had to went over the documents where it showed she changed it, but you can't see what she changed it to, if I'm remembering right. And she's just poof, gone. And remember, we always said, like, I bet you someday she'll come out with a book because, you know, she looked up, what's her name? Oh my God, from this Scott Peterson case. What was it? I can't think of her name, but she looked up like the book deal and stuff. So it was like oh my God, she's going to end up writing a book. She might still. Maybe she's just waiting for a little bit longer for it to die down and then tell her side. I don't know. But what will her side be? Like, wonder, maybe she won't. But like a few years ago, I swore, I said, yeah, she will definitely, eventually, I think there'll be a book. I still think there's a possibility. Give it like 10 years or something. I could see that, right? I think eventually, it might just be a long time that she's going to come out of hiding and write a book when it's like really died down. What do you think? Amber, yes. Thank you, Amber Fry. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Oh, wait, hold on. Really? Like recently he said that, Alicia? Huh. I mean, maybe she's just right under our eyes. The whole time everybody's like, oh, she moved somewhere like out of the country or out of state. And maybe she's just been in Colorado the whole time. I think I'm going to have my mom cut my hair a little bit today. It is. Oh, I'm sorry. I look at like I gotta straighten it. It just looks all like. Anyway, yeah. So maybe she might, and maybe she like looks really different, different color hair, and maybe we wouldn't even recognize her. I don't know. My mom does try to cut layers into it. I could have her try to cut more. I should straighten it more often. I mean, sometimes I do, but I haven't in a while. But look how sometimes it looks better. So I did brush it today. I did it. I brushed it right before the live, but it doesn't. Anyway. All right, bye guys. Oh, hi Wyatt. Hi RL Frost, Casey, Suna Girl, One Love, Estella. All right, yeah. So today's Friday. So maybe like Saturday or Sunday. Sometime this weekend I would like to do another live. All right, bye guys.